CMC-FM HD1 Holly Springs.
He is not ever going to be fired. I think Rod will realize when he is through.
Yeah, and wants to maybe do pickleball.
That's Saturday.
That
right?
is a Saturday.
That's coming up Saturday.
Who
That's
knows?
so funny.
Him and Justin Williams.
I'm going to cry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to cry. That is so good. There you go. Way to start a Saturday.
Yes.
What am I doing? Wait, hold on. It's not Saturday. Oh, my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the Adam Gold Show, where I don't know what day it is.
You want it to be Saturday. However, you won't even be in North Carolina on Saturday.
No, I will not. I will not. I will be in Phoenix, Arizona on Saturday. Glendale, Arizona, actually, on Saturday for the national semifinals, which will match NC State and Purdue, followed by Connecticut and Alabama. Should be fun. I'm Adam Gold. That's Victoria. She knows what day it is. I don't.
Hump day.
Wednesday. Yes, there we go. We are really, really jammed up today in terms of guests. We have a lot of different people we're going to speak with. Let me just give people the rundown for at least most of it. We're going to talk. Chip Patterson is here on a Wednesday. As always, we'll dig into the Chipolytics. One of the things we are going to talk about is Carolina's newest defenseman, Scott Morrow, one of their top prospects who I think most of us believed if Carolina was going to make a big splash at the trade deadline, it would likely cost them Scott Morrow. It did not. Morrow signed his entry-level deal after UMass was beaten in the first round of the NCAA hockey tournament, middle last week, late last week, whatever it was. And they lost to Denver. Signed his contract yesterday, on the ice today, not going to play, but I wouldn't rule out a Scott Morrow game by the end of the season. It all depends on what Carolina's got to play for, who needs a little bit of a rest in terms of getting ready for the postseason, who's got some injuries that they are nursing. But anyway, we're going to talk to Scott Morrow, going to find out if the ice feels the same as it did at UMass. Right. By the way, you know who went to UMass before Scott Morrow?
Who's that?
Cale Makar.
Ooh.
Yes. Now, he is not Cale Makar.
Maybe.
But
maybe he'll grow into it.
He is a really good skater and a really good offensive player, just that there's not a lot of people who can do the things that Cale Makar can do.
Yes.
So nobody's going to compare Scott Morrow to him. But Morrow has a very good chance of being in the mix for the top six next year, going into next season. He is thought to be that good. And just think about it. Carolina's got another prospect who's playing in Russia and will play one more season that people think is yeesh good.
We like yeesh good.
Yeah, so the Hurricanes are in this mode because it's going to be a transition time next year. You know, there's a lot of guys who are playing on this year's team that will not be there next year.
Unfortunately.
We're all going to have to get over it.
Yes.
But so it's going to be a bit of a transition in terms of the roster. I don't believe Rod Brindamore's expectations will lessen at all.
No.
So we're going to talk to Scott Morrow. We're going to talk to Mac Brown today. The Carolina spring game is on April 20th. The state spring game is this weekend. What?
I know.
We're not moving that?
Right.
I mean, I realize
Bad
the women play Friday, the men play Saturday, and it's later in the evening, so you can do both. But go easy on the tailgating for the state spring game.
Yes.
And then, of course, the men's game, I think, is just about 10 minutes after 6. So we're going to talk to Mac Brown about Carolina's Pro Day. We'll get into their spring game, and it's mock draft season.
It is full swing.
So I noticed something about mock draft season that is going to make all of us go, come on. So we'll get to that as well. We got a lot of things to do. Also, we're going to start with breaking news. But first, let's get started. And frankly, you might have already heard this breaking news. So it is what it is. Steve Clifford stepping down as head coach of the Charlotte Hornets. We're going to talk to our friend Will Palaszczuk, who does postgame for the Hornets on radio. So we'll get his thoughts on this. We always talk to Will about a lot of different things, right? A lot of it is Charlotte FC.
Yeah.
Because he's the play-by-play voice for that.
How's people's mentality for the Panthers?
Right. And we got a bunch of things. We're going to narrow it down for a couple of minutes on Steve Clifford 2.0. Unfortunately being, was it one and done? I don't even know. It's just hard to keep. This organization needs to figure out how to get some traction. I think Steve Clifford has probably just grown tired of all of it.
Yeah.
And even though new ownership, like, you know what? I need a rest. I need a nap.
He should pick up pickleball.
Everybody should. Clifford is going to stay on through the end of the season. All right, Dustin Kearns at App State got a contract extension. What a massive season. Unfortunately, when you play in the Sun Belt or pick your, we'll call it mid-major. Pick your mid-major league. If you don't win the conference tournament, you're not going to the NCAA tournament. For all of Indiana State's wins, they won the Missouri Valley, which is, probably a top 12, top 15 conference in the country, and had 30-some-odd wins. Nope, you get to go to the NIT. Meanwhile, they'll be playing for the NIT title against Seton Hall coming up. So, I mean, for what that's worth, and I think it should be celebrated, especially for Indiana State. Good for them. But you could argue that, they weren't better than Virginia? Really? Seton Hall wasn't better than Virginia? Come on. Anyway, Dustin Kearns, congratulations. He won the regular season. During the regular season, swept James Madison, but just didn't win the conference tournament.
Yeah.
And therefore, you get to go to the NIT, where they ended up losing in the first round to Wake Forest. All right, Iowa LSU, watched by 12.3 million people.
A few.
12.3, most watched women's basketball game ever.
It was a good one.
It was a great basketball game. I want to dig into this real quick. First, let's hear from Michelle Smallman from Unsportsmanlike on ESPN Radio, who talked, because there's been a lot of conversation about, Caitlin Clark, if she wants to make real money, she should stay at school at Iowa and, get all the NIL money she can get. And it was substantial this year. I get the sense that she's going to make plenty of money off the court in the WNBA. Plenty of money.
Yeah, she's already in a commercial. What was that?
Tons of commercials.
An insurance commercial, I think.
She's been doing State Farm commercials for a while.
Yeah.
So now she's in a Gatorade commercial.
Yep.
She's in plenty of commercials already. Heck, most of the North Carolina basketball team did commercials this year. I kid you not.
Yeah.
And there are NCAA athletes all over our televisions in between the action. But here's Michelle Smallman on the impact of Clark at the next level.
I would not be surprised if we see a massive growth in WNBA numbers because of her presence and potentially Angel Reese, some of these other stars that we've come accustomed to knowing about and following. I would not be surprised if we see the Caitlin Clark effect really take hold in the WNBA and we see exponential growth there next season.
All right. I don't disagree with that at all. We're going to get to Will Palaszczuk here in a second. Let me just throw this at you. I've heard a lot talked about how everybody was interested in the personalities involved. That's why the women's game was 12.3 million viewers. Maybe I'm crazy here, but we are certainly familiar with Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. And to be fair to all parties, I think the attraction, while Reese is an amazing player and a national champion, I think the real attraction there is Caitlin Clark. This is not to say that Angel Reese doesn't draw eyeballs by herself. She does. All year long, every time Clark has played, it was box office. In fact, Fox, the network Fox, covers men's and women's basketball. They averaged more viewers for women's basketball this year than men's basketball.
That's huge.
It was close, but it was slightly elevated for the women's game. Now, far fewer women's games on TV than men's games. And all too often, Fox would put on a like Butler Xavier game.
Right.
Right? And there'd be like 200,000 people watching that game. Every time Fox had an Iowa game on, there were millions of people. So it was a little bit skewed in terms of the marquee. But I don't think it's personality that is driving the television ratings for the women. I think it's familiarity. We know all these women. But let's be honest. Why are we tuning into Caitlin Clark? It's not because she's effervescent and a great personality. It's because when you watch Caitlin Clark, you are going to go, holy crap, did you see that?
At least 3 times.
All game long, she gave you that.
Yes.
And for those people who stayed awake and watched Juju Watkins, same thing. It's the play. As long as the play stays high, the level of the play, people will watch.
Yeah.
The familiarity will get you there, but when you watch these women do their thing, you go, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's worth watching.
Crazy skilled,
So,
very entertaining.
Yeah.
I love it.
And whether or not it translates to the WNBA, I think it will, right? But now she's going into a place where there's ridiculous play
Yes.
all the time.
Right.
So it's going to be harder for her to do those things, but she'll just go back another 5 feet and shoot.
Well, yeah, she'll just be her because she's also a basketball player and a cheerleader. Anybody who's watched her, she does both. So.
Her average three-point shot was nearly 26 feet.
Insane.
It was 25.8 feet.
And she's not even like 7'8". Like,
No, I think she's 6 foot even. Right. 6 foot even, which, I mean, yeah. All right. Our guy, at Willie P. Style, who, does all sports in Charlotte, works for everybody, and including the Hornets. So let's get into this Steve Clifford. I wouldn't call it a bombshell. Hornets, again, having a rough season, injury, LaMelo Ball shut down, all of that. But Brandon Miller is, we all know that he is the thing. Like, he is going to be part of their core. Did the Steve Clifford end 2.0? Did that in any way catch you by surprise?
It didn't, Adam. And I think, honestly, the part that stunned me a little bit is that Jeff Peterson and ownership were open to bringing him back. I think that's just more of an indication that they feel that Steve got a raw deal with this team. When you have LaMelo Ball only play 22 games this season and 58 games over the course of the last 2 seasons, you kind of feel like you want to see what he can do with a full deck of cards. But between his injury and Mark Williams' injury and still working with a relatively young roster, they did make some moves at the trade deadline to really improve things and kind of give you at least a sense of having some more veteran leadership on the team. I think there is a sense and a desire from a lot of Hornets fans to want to see what a new coach can do, maybe an ascending type coach. Unfortunately, they were kind of left at the altar by Kenny Atkinson 2 years ago, and so you were robbed of the ability to see what an ascending head coach could do with LaMelo Ball. And I think with new ownership in place, a new man in charge of picking the players and Jeff Peterson, they want to see what they can get in terms of trying to have somebody new potentially lead this ship.
I mean, I know that the trade deadline, it was successful. The outgoings, they brought in draft picks, but those draft picks don't land for a couple of years, I believe, for the most part. What are the prospects, and how can you build around the core that you've got right now?
Well, I think you added a lot of veteran leadership with Grant Williams and Seth Curry, guys who had kind of been through the wars a little bit, and even some other pieces that are great for a rotation like a Trey Mann. I think Trey Mann brings you something that maybe you didn't get a little bit with Terry Rozier. You get a little bit more size and a little bit more kind of tenacity and an ability to drive the ball, maybe a little bit more on defense as well than you had with Terry. And you also get, a player in Davis Bertans who can be a great player off the bench in terms of three-point shooting. And even a guy like Vasa Micic, who honestly is a very big buy low candidate who, as a 30-year-old rookie, really kind of found his groove in this latter part of the season with the Hornets after not really being used and being trapped on that roster in Oklahoma City. Is it a complete roster by any means? No, not necessarily at all. I think you still need to get maybe one more type superstar player in here to kind of gel with Brandon and LaMelo. And you also need some health. I mean, that's the biggest thing right now that's been the problem with the Hornets is that they've not really had an ability to put forth what they would call a representative roster for anything more than maybe one or two games this season. And that's the thing that whether or not you make moves to change that or try to make different moves to try and get different players in here, you got to at least have players who are more available to play than what the Hornets have had over the course of the last two seasons.
What is the sense about the durability of LaMelo?
It's in question right now, Adam. I think the fact that it's the same type of injury gives a lot of people some pause. I don't want to call them out from that sense personally, just to say because I can't be inside that young man and know what's going on with his ankles. But I do feel like there are some questions about whether or not he can be someone who handles an 82-game schedule. Again, very few players now in basketball play 82 games anymore, but I mean, can we get 65? Could we get 70? Could it be a scenario that, you're having to basically deal with him as a part-time player and get, somebody who might be stronger than a 2 but not quite a 1 type point guard in here that can be that supplementary role when you don't have LaMelo on a daily basis? It is definitely in question. And I think a lot of part of the question, Adam, is the fact that we have seen Brandon Miller emerge and seen players really gravitate towards him. I think we all kind of wondered whether or not LaMelo was going to turn into a leader, but now it almost seems like Brandon Miller has supplanted that role, and LaMelo is probably more content with being somebody who just lets his game do the talking, but that is something that I feel like is a very intriguing spot to watch over the course of the next season or two, is how LaMelo's play does the talking as opposed to, the leadership role that many thought he would probably assume that it seems like Brandon Miller now has.
Will Palaszczuk does post-game work with the Hornets, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube or if you catch this in the best of For the Crown, always repping Charlotte FC. I actually, as
I'm
you
go,
go,
have to change before I go to Steve's press conference at 4 o'clock.
Quite all right. It's quite all right. I dig that. I dig that hoodie. When you were going down the roster, I actually thought you had flipped over and started to talk about Charlotte FC. So, but I do want to ask you this, because to me, as you're describing the LaMelo Ball issue, two things ran through my brain. The first, one of which was Steph Curry had major ankle issues for the first part of his career, to the point where, as the Warriors were winning titles, Curry was playing on maybe the worst ever contract for somebody who was like a top 5 NBA player who was on his second deal. It was legitimately like a 4-year, $40 million deal. That's like mid-level exception Steph Curry. But he kind of overcame that, and the other part was all the Ball brothers have had injury issues. I just wonder if they played too much ball, pardon the pun, as kids. If they played too much, or is it just a freak thing?
It's very much a thing you can inquire about, Adam, just because, we've yet to see Lonzo. Lonzo missed the whole season this year. And
feels like he's missed the last 3.
It's definitely a corollary, and anytime you have something like that, you wonder if it's of a bit of a genetic trend. The Curry point is something that we've brought up a lot here in Charlotte in terms of, that off season where he really took the time and made a regimented change to his off-season workouts. He did more deadlifts. He did more exercises to try and strengthen those ankles to where it wasn't hurting him on a day-in, day-out basis. I think if you're going to be a player of LaMelo Ball's caliber, you have to seek out Steph. I mean, Dell's literally right here. You can basically say, hey, make the connection happen, just because there does seem to be questions about his durability. And the thing that people keep on saying is that, the silence around the injury, LaMelo doesn't do a lot of media, and when he does do media, he doesn't really say a whole lot. So the silence around all that is something that's very, very deafening. But I also think, too, it just comes down to the fact that, this isn't something that should have taken this long to heal.
Right.
Is he sitting because the organization wants to or because he wants to? All those are unanswered questions now at this point.
All right, let me throw one more thing at you before we let Will Palaszczuk go. Willie P. Style on Twitter. What is the type of coach that they're looking for? Are they looking for young, offensively oriented? Steve Clifford was a little bit of a kind of an old school guy, in my opinion. He certainly had some things to say earlier in the season. I don't remember the specifics, but he was fairly critical of some of the players, not specifically to the Hornets, but the players who come in who are high draft picks who just aren't ready to compete in the NBA, but they get drafted because this is the way the league does it. He was probably more critical of the teams than he was the players. But what is the next coach? What is the type that they're looking for?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that about Clifford and the criticism. He was doing that to juxtapose how ready Brandon Miller was to play in this league, and so I think he's being complimentary about Brandon and somewhat, I guess, admonishing other players who potentially were coming through the ranks. They're looking for a young coach, from what I can gather, Adam. They're looking for somebody who's an ascending coach. The name Charles Lee has been brought up. He's the top assistant in Boston, has connections with ownership and with Jeff Peterson, the chief decision maker, going back to their combined time with the Atlanta Hawks when he was an assistant there. Guy like a Jordi Fernandez out of Sacramento is somebody who I've also heard on a couple of different things. They did this 2 years ago. I think a lot of the same names are going to be in play. I would be shocked if it's somebody who is not getting their first head coaching job. I don't think you're going to see a retread here. I think you're going to see somebody who is an ascending talent and somebody who can grow with the organization, and somebody hopefully that, like you said, maybe has an offensive mind and potentially a pedigree with building and being able to mentor point guards like the Hornets will have here with LaMelo Ball having only played 58 games over the last 2 seasons.
58 over the last 2 seasons. We don't have to go any further than that. Will Palaszczuk, who plays all the games. You are an Iron Man, my friend. I appreciate your time. At Willie P. Style, thanks for the time, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Always good to chat, Adam. Thank you.
I dig the hoodie. I do dig the hoodie. I want to get that. Like, For the Crown just seems like that just looked like a sharp logo top to bottom. All right, let me get a couple of things in here before we break. Mac Brown's going to join us on the other side. I mentioned that it was mock draft season in the NFL. We are now at a place where we get a mock draft like every day. We talk to Will Brinson, usually once a week, maybe a little bit more sporadic now that we're out of games and whatnot, and we are just, we're 4 weeks away?
I know. Soon we'll have Ryan Wilson with all of his mock drafts.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Ryan next week, by the way. 3 weeks from tomorrow is the NFL draft.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 weeks from tomorrow. So right now, here's the mock draft. Caleb Williams is going to be the first pick in the draft. Book it. Just like
put them bonus bets down.
Exactly. Find if you can get a boost, a profit boost.
Yes.
Because it's minus money.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right. Caleb Williams is going to be the first pick in the draft. I would say I've seen one mock draft that had Drake May number 2. One.
Wow.
Everything is Jaden Daniels number 2.
Wow.
I am now seeing more drafts, more mocks that have J.J. McCarthy going 3 than have Drake May going 2. Most of the mock drafts have Drake May 3rd. The amazing thing is that a lot of these people say, he's number 2 on my board, but ... This is what they're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so it is mostly based on sources that the people who do mock drafts have. I'm not going to sit here and say that Drake May is better than these other guys. I'm not saying he's better than Caleb Williams. They've all got some flaws. All of them. But I am continuously shocked when that May has just, of all the players to slowly slide down the draft board.
Yeah.
So I saw one mock draft today that had him 5th.
What?
Granted, here's this. If you're going to pick 1, 2, 3 are quarterbacks, and one of those quarterbacks is not Drake May, at some point, somebody is going to trade up and get Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
He's that good.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
If the Bears are smart,
Maybe
they would.
maybe the Panthers can draft Drake May with the first pick in the second round.
How perfect would that
Nah,
be?
I'm kidding. He's not going to be there. We're going to talk to Mac Brown about his former quarterback, Drake May, and more, because there's others. It's not just Drake. There's Tez Walker, who is probably going to be a day 2 draft pick as well. Mac Brown, North Carolina head football coach, joins us next.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Listen every afternoon for The Drive with Tim Donnelly.
DJ Burns is one of the most unique superstars in the history of the NCAA tournament. This is a guy that's become the absolute story, the main supernova superstar. But get this, he rarely ever dunks and he never shoots threes. In a world of LeBrons and Steph Currys, this guy's become a star in his own way.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 3 to 6 on 99.9 The Fan.
All right, North Carolina, since we are up and running with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, I can remind you that new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you make your first $5 wager. Even I could get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when I make my first $5 wager, and I did. Go to FanDuel.com, Adam Gold to sign up. FanDuel.com, Adam Gold, then you can bet on whatever you like. Find out what sport works for you, be it English soccer or basketball. It's all there, and you can get started with $200 in bonus bets, win or lose, when you make your first $5 wager. FanDuel.com, promo code AdamGold. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Must be 21 and older and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only, $10 deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
At WakeMed MyCare 365, we deliver convenience others only talk about. Every day of the year. Primary care and urgent care under one roof. Multiple locations, virtual visits, walk-in or schedule an appointment online. From annual physicals and routine care to sinus infection, strep, or the flu, we couldn't be more convenient. Learn more about our kind of care and our kind of convenience at wakemed.org.
Imagine waking up this time next week and being 100% debt-free. No credit cards, no car loan, no personal loan. Hey, it's Dennis Cox. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit can make it happen. Homeowners are turning their home equity into cash almost instantly. With Loan Pronto's AI-based system, you can get approval in about 10 minutes with almost no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle. You can get hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home. Use that money to pay off all your other loans. The average homeowner saves over $850 a month doing this. Listen, your home value is way up. You can use that to wipe out all those credit cards, get some money for a home improvement. Literally hundreds of thousands are at your fingertips, and approval is just minutes away. Call 919-381-1760, 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com, 919-381-1760, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, equal housing lender.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
April is here. And if your windows won't open for fresh air or seal tight to keep out pollen and bugs, then talk to Window Nation right now. For every 2 windows you buy, you'll get 2 free. There's no limit to how much you could save. Plus, you could save even more with no interest or payments for 24 months. With proven quality, you'll get affordable windows that meet or beat the national brands. Don't miss out. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
This is Adam Gold.
That was a big deal to me this morning. I'm sorry if the heathens that we had on for the roundtable, Jeremy and Travis,
My people.
didn't even understand Jurgen Klopp.
It does sound different. Feels like a clogging thing. Like I should be river dancing.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. Mac Brown will join us in a matter of moments. Talk about the spring game, which is about 17 days away. What is today? Today is, I can't do math, the 3rd. Spring game is 20th. Exactly 17 days away. I can apparently
You got it right.
do math.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that. It's the Saturday of the 20th. So 2 weeks from this Saturday, we'll have the North Carolina spring game. It'll be a new quarterback. Will it be another NFL quarterback? I mean, imagine being Mac Brown. You've had back-to-back NFL guys. You go from Sam Howell to Drake May. Can you do better than that? I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about Drake May's pro day and what he's heard and the amazing mock draft process, which of course is silly, but they have to put one out every single day. But we'll talk about that with Mac Brown. We'll talk about other players as well. Tez Walker, Cedric Gray, guys who have definitely turned heads. And maybe if he's interested, get into the state of play in college sports. We have Mac Brown, the head coach at North Carolina, who's joining us now on the Adam Gold Show, 17 days away from the spring game. Are you already making plans for how that's going to look?
Adam, we really are. The landscape of college football is changing, and transfer portal changes your numbers in the spring. Your handling of your roster is different. So I think we'll see spring games look differently moving forward. A lot of my friends are not having one.
Right.
And we decided that we'd be better off without ours being on TV because we'd rather have them come and watch a practice and get to know our players with the ACC network. So we're going to have a fun spring game. It's an opportunity to see the 2 new quarterbacks play that are in competition. It's an opportunity to see a lot of young guys.
Right.
If you want to come and see Omarion Hampton, you're probably not going to see him very long, so you better get there early. But that's just what it is. It's really more young guys in front of a crowd preparing for next fall.
Mac Brown is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Before we get to new quarterbacks, let me ask you about your most recent old quarterback, and I use obviously old in serious air quotations here. How did the pro day go? What are you hearing? And I know you guys don't put any stock into mock drafts because we should just mock them. Everybody who does one says, well, he's my second-ranked prospect. Then why is he the 4th quarterback on your mock draft? What have you heard about Drake May?
Adam, Drake had a great pro day. We had every team represented. We had a couple of head coaches. We had some general managers. We had over 100 staff members here from pro teams, pro scouts, whatever. Most we've ever had. And Drake looked great. He threw 80 to 100 balls, and I think he wishes he had 3 of them back, and that's pretty good. He threw 169 yards, I think, on the money. He worked really, really hard. He's in great shape. In fact, we felt like every player that was there didn't hurt themselves or improved themselves for the draft or for free agency. And they even specifically mentioned, some of them mentioned British Brooks and how good he looks. And he's a guy that was a special teams captain. So we felt like our pro day was really good. You can't go on the projections of draft day. Obviously, one move late changes everybody's moves. So for somebody to tell you this is what's going to happen, they've never been in that draft room. And we've got a number of ex-NFL coaches on our staff, and we have them sit down with our players and tell them how to handle the combine. How do you handle scouts and head coaches and coordinators when they come in and sit down and visit with you? What should you do on draft day? What is it really like? So we try to educate our guys to get them ready for whatever happens.
Mack Brown is joining us here. Look, we've all watched Drake play. We know how good he is. We know he's got a great arm. We know he's a great athlete. We know he's an accurate thrower. The transition from college to the NFL in terms of reading defenses at the line of scrimmage, stuff that they're trying to trick you that maybe we don't see a lot of in college. The quality of the defensive backs where everybody can cover as opposed to colleges where maybe not everybody can cover. What's the hardest transition for a quarterback from college to the NFL?
I think it's just the speed of the game. They have to get the ball out of their hands quicker. There's less time for a guy to be open, so he's really got to anticipate the throw. And we're lucky, Adam, or really Drake's lucky that he's got Freddie Kitchens here, who coached 2 number 1 draft picks in the NFL and was an offensive coordinator for 11 years and the head coach for the Browns. We've got Clyde Christensen here that coached 4 of the best NFL quarterbacks to ever play. And we've got Chip Lindsey, who had 2 of his guys go to the NFL. So those guys can all really help Drake prepare for what's coming up here soon for him. But I think and he's got Sam Howell. Sam just went through a year of this in the draft, and it didn't end up like Sam wanted to. But then he starts for Washington, and now he's already traded. So Sam and Drake are very, very close, and they talk all the time. So and Drake's got a great family. So we feel like that he is as prepared for this moment as you could possibly be, and it's amazing to me that he has accomplished so much in only playing 2 years of college football.
Well, I mean,
that's really unbelievable.
Now 2 years is almost a lot. 2 years in one place is almost a lot. Mack Brown is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. I'm going to ask you about the state of play in the college game in a second, but walk me through what you're looking at in terms of the next quarterback. You went from NFL quarterback to NFL quarterback. Which is the next guy who's going to be an NFL quarterback?
Well, we've got 2 guys that are competing right now. Both of them are very talented, and we're excited about them, and they're competing at a high level. You've got Connor Harrell, who played in the bowl game. He played in the Campbell game. He runs 4.4. He's really smart. He knows the system. He's been around, and he's having a good spring. And then we brought in Max Johnson, who started at LSU and started at Texas A&M. He's thrown over 900 balls in the SEC, and he's looking really good right now. So that's another reason to come out to the spring game. You get to see both guys and see who is going to be the heir apparent for Drake May.
All right, you brought it up first, so I want to get to a couple of things, and I know we don't have a ton of time, but I'm just curious the way you look at where we're headed. I mean, honestly, the transfer portal, which makes your job so much more difficult in terms of building and managing and maintaining a roster, and I understand maybe I don't understand all of it, but it has to be difficult for you, especially as rapidly as all this has changed over the last 4 or 5 years. NIL, I'm not sure it's as big a deal as the transfer portal is. But how do we fix all of this? Is it as easy as collective bargaining would give schools more certainty as well?
I think, Adam, we're headed toward an NFL model. When we made decisions to go to NIL and transfer portal, I'm not sure we realized that the combination of both of them would be so very difficult for colleges across the country. And every college coach would tell you they're happy that the young guys are getting paid, or the athletes.
Right.
Everybody. There's been amazing stories, whether it's Tylee Kraft having more money to help the cost that the NCAA will not pay for his cancer treatments, whether it's young guys helping their moms pay house payments, whether it's parents getting to see games where they never did before. So every coach would tell you NIL's good. What we didn't do is look at possible consequences, and we didn't put any caps, guidelines in the group. And the only group out there that's paying players other than us is the NFL. So we're headed, in my estimation, toward the NFL model. And that obviously doesn't help the transfer part of it. The transfer part of it, we lost who we were, and guys were transferring all over the place. Then we said nobody going to transfer except once, and then that got a little crazy, and especially with the Tez Walker situation. And then we've gotten back now to where they can transfer anytime they want. You can transfer 3 times a year if you want to. So there's got to be a balance with all this stuff. There's got to be some common sense. There's got to be some balance. Let's get a salary cap like the NFL. Let's pay the left tackle a certain amount and the right guard a certain amount, and then the quarterbacks are going to make more in the NFL than the other players. And let's do it through the university. And let's not we're really getting donor fatigue because we're asking our donors for so much money for facilities, coaches, salaries, season tickets. And now we're asking them at North Carolina to pay for 28 sports for NIL. And that's just, guys, they got caller ID, they're going to quit picking up the phone because we wear them out when we're calling them asking for money. But I think we're in a good place. The game's very popular. Everybody's had a playoff except us for years, and now we've got one. So there's so many positive things going. A lot of smart people just need to get in a room very quickly and have some urgency about making sure that we put together the best combination of what is best and fair for the players with NIL, the coaches with NIL, and the transfer portal.
All right, let me close on this. And I like a lot of the things that you and I talk about. I appreciate that you are willing to delve into the bigger picture stuff about college sports because it is important. Do you get the sense? Well, let me ask you just about the league. How do you feel about the foundation of where the ACC is right now?
Adam, I think everybody loves the ACC that's been in it. And I'm a historian. I love looking back at rival games and whether it was Texas and Oklahoma, whether it was Nebraska, Colorado, and then Oklahoma, Nebraska quit playing, and Nebraska, Colorado quit playing. Those are games we all loved growing up when Texas and Texas A&M, regardless of who you were on Thanksgiving. You were going to sit and watch the Texas A&M game, and then it went away, and now it's coming back. So I think the whole thing that everybody has to look at now is the reality of it. It's about the dollar, and how can you pay salaries for your staff and keep them at a high level unless you have as much money as other people. So I know that our commissioner, as well as a lot of the others, are looking at what they can possibly do to enrich the programs that are in their conferences so they can compete nationally. All of us want to win all the games. NIL has made it even tougher to compete at a high level unless you've got a lot of money coming in. So I think that's what's happening with realignment as people are looking at not what they feel like is most comfortable, not what they feel like is most fun, but now we've got to look at what's best. And that's why you have so much conversation across the country with some looking at other places and some not, just because everybody's trying to do what's best for their program.
Right. And I believe that we have, and I don't know that that Jim Phillips falls into this category. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. I think we have some people in charge of other conferences that are not looking at what's best for the sport as a whole, but only what makes their leagues more money, which I understand that's what it's become. and they're all doing it at the behest of the university presidents. My sense is that if they had left all of this up to coaches and athletic directors only, it might look a lot different. But that's just speculation on my part. I hope you have fun at the spring game, even if it's not necessarily a game, on the 20th at 3 o'clock at Kenan Stadium. And I always appreciate your time and the conversation. Mac Brown, I want you to have a good time.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks for having me on, and hope everybody had a happy Easter and get out to it will be a game, but get out to the spring game at 3 o'clock on the 20th of April if possible.
That we will encourage people to do so. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Adam.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Mac Brown here on the Adam Gold Show. Like what he was talking about, I mean, you solved a lot of those things with collective bargaining. Because if you're going to, and look, I'm not a salary cap person. Anybody who's ever listened to me talk about these types of things, but we're not talking about tons of money here for the colleges, right? We're not. There's going to be good money, but it's not going to be obviously NFL money because the colleges didn't sign a $1 billion plus annual contract. But through collective bargaining, you will get more roster certainty, more guarantees. There will be commitments on both sides through collective bargaining. And through collective bargaining, there would be some cost certainty. And yes, it would all go through the school because it should. And I think that it's really good that Mac Brown pointed out that we are asking too much of our donors. On the other side, a story from today's news that speaks to just that, asking the fans to pay the freight. And it's one-timer time. Isn't that fun? Next.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, Joe. You come here often?
Yeah, just waiting for my pills. High blood pressure and cholesterol.
Oh, that'll cost you.
I can afford it. I have NC Medicaid.
They cover prescriptions?
Yep. Doctor's visits, screenings, emergency care at low or no cost.
I tried to get it before, but I made too much.
Try again. You can earn more and still get NC Medicaid. Just go to the website.
I'm going to do that.
NC Medicaid is for more people. See if you qualify at medicaid.nc.gov.
Are you taking care of someone on Medicare? Navigating Medicare can be overwhelming. You're not alone. The NC Department of Insurance SHIP program can help you figure out what steps to take and when. SHIP counselors can answer your questions. Visit ncship.com or call toll-free at 855-408-1212. SHIP provides free, unbiased help in all 100 counties.
Project supported by grants from the Administration for Community Living. Contents do not necessarily represent official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
Fair housing is more than just a celebration in April. For North Carolina's realtors, it's an everyday standard. For the 56,000 realtors across our state, we embrace and support fair housing to stamp out discrimination in all forms. As realtors, we believe fairness is worth fighting for, and we won't stop until the fight is won. Celebrating Fair Housing Month, North Carolina Realtors. We open doors to everyone. Paid for by North Carolina Realtors.
All right, North Carolina, FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, officially live, up and running here in the Tar Heel State. And new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you make your first $5 wager. Go to FanDuel.com, promo code AGS to sign up now. Then you can bet on everything from hoops to NASCAR and everything in between, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Get started with $200 in bonus bets, win or lose, when you place your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com, promo code AGS to get started. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. You must be 21 or older and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
The Body Armor State Games are coming to Charlotte this June. Registration is open to athletes of all ages and skill levels. In 25 different sports. The Body Armor State Games features 13,000 athletes and 700 teams. Don't miss out on North Carolina's largest sports festival of the year. Visit bodyarmorstategames.org today. The Body Armor State Games are proud to partner with Truist, Harris Teeter, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon you wish would never end.
The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
St. Louis brought the world gooey butter cake. Now Bluebell brings us gooey butter cake ice cream. A cake batter ice cream with a luscious cream cheese swirl and gooey butter cake pieces. It's the gateway to the best in pints and half gallons.
The good old days are being made right now.
The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell ice cream at your local grocer and pick up your favorite flavor today.
This is Adam Gold.
I would like to go to the supermarket with the Bears front office.
Exactly.
Right? Oh, no. Do I want, like, fruits and vegetables, or do I want this box of Devil Dogs? Devil Dogs, by the way, the greatest snack cake known to mankind. Unfortunately, you need a lot of milk. Otherwise, you're out of luck.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. Victoria producing the program. Before we get to one-timers, questions and answers, definitive answers to outstanding questions. The citizens of, I think it's Jackson County, Missouri? Yes, Jackson County, Missouri, which is where Kansas City, Missouri is located. They rejected comfortably a sales tax extension that would have funded renovations to Arrowhead Stadium and the construction of a downtown ballpark for the Kansas City Royals. The citizens said, "We are done paying for your stuff."
Thank you. Goodbye.
So, in the story, it says, well, it calls into question whether or not Kansas City will be able to keep the two teams. Bull. They'll keep the two teams. Billionaires should not ask citizens to build them playgrounds.
No.
Build your own playground. Bothers me. Anyway, time for one-timers.
Rich people stuff. I wouldn't know about rich people stuff.
Nor would I. But I do know that.
I do know when it's dumb when they ask.
I don't have to get into the public funding aspect of stuff.
No.
All right.
No.
Q&A time.
Okay, so like you've mentioned already a little bit today, there's a new Kane by the name of Scott who will be joining the show. Right?
Yes, Scott Morrow.
Yes, he will
Scott
be joining
Morrow
the show.
in like 7 minutes.
Yes. So, as a Canes fan, why should they be excited?
He's the future. He's one of the pieces that, and it could be as soon as next year, where Scott Morrow will be part of the mix.
Yeah.
Look, all you got to do is understand what the Hurricanes are looking at in terms of who's going to be on the roster next year. Like, there's a lot of free agents right now for this team. And guys like Scott Morrow provide low cost. He's on a 3-year entry-level deal, which this year is year 1, so it's really a 2-year deal. And because he went to UMass for 3 years, that he is going to be maybe even next year ready to step in. But he won't have to. But he's going to be part of the mix.
Yeah.
To maybe see who's going to play on a third pair with Carolina. So that's why people should be interested in Scott Morrow.
Okay. Well, one thing that Canes fans aren't going to be excited about is that means there's not enough money in the bag to pay everyone that we love so much.
It's independent of Morrow.
Right.
Okay, it has nothing to do with Scott Morrow.
Right. No, leading into the fact that there won't be enough money for next season. So who do you foresee as of right now who might be on they may not be on the roster next year?
A lot of them.
Ooh.
A lot of them. And that's the tough part. Part of the reason Dmitry Orlov was brought in was because they actually thought that they would make a trade this past offseason. Didn't happen. I'm glad it didn't happen. But Orlov's going to play on a second pair next year. Does he play the left side? Does he play the right side? Do he and Chatfield just bump up and replace the two guys who are playing behind Slavin and Burns? I don't know. It's gonna be a lot of very difficult decisions.
Yeah, well, and probably last but not least is that create a sense of urgency to get this cup this year.
I mean, yes.
Please and thank you.
I think there was a sense of urgency either way, but it's not just Shea and Pesci, but it's also Teravainen, it's Martinook. Like, there's a lot of guys that might not be here next year. It's going to be hard to say goodbye to some of them.
Going beyond the box scores. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Adam Gold for my friend Gordon Miller, Miller Lending, Kildare Farm Road in Cary. Let's do math. All right, you have $5,000 that you are going to pay in closing costs. We can ask a question. Why would I do that? I've just put a down payment on the house, and I'm paying interest on the loan. Why am I also paying money to pay interest just to save $50 a month? Yeah, that's what you get from paying closing costs. You're saving about $50 a month on your mortgage payment. All well and good, but if you want to refinance within 2 years after paying closing costs, you've thrown that money away. No kidding, you've thrown that money away. Average length of a mortgage is less than 4 years. If you pay closing costs, you are betting that you are going to keep your mortgage for just about 8. That's the break-even point. Miller Lending on Kildare Farm Road in Cary. The man who invented the no closing cost mortgage is Gordon Miller. MillerLending.com, helpful website. Check it out. Miller Lending is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 2502146.
What are you doing? I'm training for the new Ultimate Dash Scratch-Offs. I could get a chance to dash through a warehouse full of prizes.
That explains the shopping cart.
Plus, I could win up to $2 million in cash.
And that explains the tuxedo.
I'm chafing.
Feel the rush with new Ultimate Dash Scratch-Offs from the North Carolina Education Lottery. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning are 1 in 3.78. Problem gambling helpline 877-718-5543.
Making dinner, trimming your hair, mowing the lawn. Sure, you can do it all yourself, but why? At Autobell Car Wash, our team cleans your whole car from the inside out in 15 minutes or less. We do the work, so you don't have to.
People can tell we do Autobell.
Hey friends, Paul Ihander from 99.9 The Fan for my team at FanDuel, and I want you to say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tournament. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing with America's #1 sportsbook. You can bet on everything from the money line, pick those winners, to over-unders, to which team cuts down the nets, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So take the court with $200 in bonus bets, win or lose, when you place your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/Paul, Paul with a capital P, and get started. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. 21 plus and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Mitchell Heating and Cooling. We do the job right every time.
I'm Drake May, quarterback at UNC. Trust the team at Mitchell Heating and Cooling for your HVAC needs. Together we win. Call Mitchell Heating and Cooling today.
Contact us now at mitchellhvac.com or 919-556-5069. Train. It's hard to stop a train.
The best solutions every time.
Hey, what
what do you say? John Forsland here for my friends at Buffalo Brothers. What a great time for sports. The College Hoops Tournament in hockey is in the home stretch. I call games in Seattle and around the country, but when I'm back in the Triangle, I head right to Buffalo Brothers. Make sure you visit Buffalo Brothers for all the big games. Always great specials, like half-price appetizers Monday through Friday, 4:30 to 6. Dine in, carry out at all 5 Triangle locations and online at buffbrothers.com. Aw, man, now I want wings.
This hour on the Triangle Sports Leader is brought to you by the Ritchie Law Firm Injury Lawyers.
You can feel the madness.
Go to gotbrian.com. That's gotbrian.com.
WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on radio, web, app, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
You're listening to The Adam Gold Show.
I mean, kind of a lot of stuff. It was sort of like worst case scenario type game for them, with the exception of McCain just playing super duper well. He was awesome in this game.
I agree.
There was just not enough help elsewhere. I mean, this has been a reoccurring thing all season. I've tried to not buy into the Kyle Filipowski, you can just take him mentally out of the game because he's still so good. But when they needed it most in this game with the season on the line, I thought Middlebrooks got in his head.
That's Brian Geisinger from yesterday as we kind of did a post-mortem on Duke and talked about what NC State has been doing exceptionally well. It's all in the Best of the Adam Gold Show podcast.
It is.
As will our conversation, our first ever, with the new guy, Scott Morrow, a 3-year UMass Minutemen defenseman who signed his first pro contract yesterday and joined the team today on the ice at practice. Scott Morrow joins us on the Adam Gold Show. First of all, welcome to town. How was your first practice as a pro? Was the ice the same? Was it cold? Was it hard? What was it?
Yeah. First of all, thank you. It was definitely a little bit different than what I'm used to. But it was a lot of fun. Definitely a lot higher skill level out there. Got to be aware when you're defending and stuff, but it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad to have gotten the first one out of the way.
What was the biggest difference for you? Obviously, the skill level. We're talking about the best players on earth here at this level, but what was the biggest difference for you in terms of the practice?
I think there's a lot of similar things like drills and stuff as to what I was used to. Compared to a college practice, it's just when you're playing 3-on-3 type of situations or 3-on-2s or 2-on-2s, you really have to take away space because guys can make you pay out here because they have a lot of skill, and you got to have a good stick and be all over guys. Otherwise, if you give them a little inch of space, it's gonna end up in a shot or a good chance against. So.
Yeah, it especially. I don't know how many of these guys you've watched over the last couple of years. I mean, you were drafted a few years ago. In 21, you were drafted, so you've had a chance to watch some of these guys play. Some of them even up close. What have you noticed? What have you tried to take away from some of the guys you're now dressing near?
Yeah, just the patience with the puck that a lot of guys have is really special, and just ability to make plays quick, especially when you get a puck on the wall that's a little bit sticky, and it's hard to make a play off of it. And sometimes at lower levels, guys really take their time with those pucks. But here, guys make those plays really quickly, and the game moves really quickly, and you got to be ready to go without the puck because you could get a pass at any moment. So.
What do you think you do better now? You've spent 3 years at UMass. What do you think you do better now than you did after your freshman year?
I think my defending is the thing that improved the most during my time at school, and just being able to gap up on guys and be tighter to them without the puck. And I think physically I made a lot of progress, as far as in the weight room and with my athleticism, just being able to jump higher, push more weight, and that type of stuff translates to the ice. And I feel like I'm a stronger and better skater. So,
Scott Morrow is joining us, newest Carolina Hurricane. If people are watching on YouTube, it actually says under Scott Morrow, newest Carolina Hurricane. And if you want to follow him on Twitter, at Scott23Morrow. So I assume that is that's your Twitter. It says Scott23Morrow, but why is your number 56?
Well, 23 is taken, and
yes.
This is the number I had at development camp that I was just assigned, so they just kept me with it.
All right. So have you determined whether or not in the future that would be it, or do you have designs on another number? Is it 23? I mean, you can negotiate these things, Scott.
Yeah, well, Nate has it right now, but I don't think I don't know. I might not make a number change unless 23 ever becomes available. I don't know. I might just have to stick with 56 if I get off to a good start here. So
I would point out that Brett Pesce started out as number 54. So, and he doesn't wear 54. It's routine. Happens all the time. Did you have a difficult decision to make after, especially it's only been about a week, right? Maybe less than a week since the double overtime loss to Denver. Was it a difficult decision for you, or were you at this point, I'm ready to go, and even though the loss might have been devastating at the time, but ultimately the decision was easy for you?
Yeah, I think kind of the decision was, I knew already based on the conversations that I had with the organization prior to when my collegiate team made the playoffs, like it was probably going to work out that I'd come. And I do think I was, I'm at the point where I feel physically ready, and I feel like, the things I took away from college, like I didn't have too much more to gain if I went back for my senior year instead of playing next year pro. So it was something that, we had those conversations early so that I knew, like, hey, as soon as our season's over, like I'm on to being a professional, and I wanted to have that kind of thing out of that decision done with either way before my team made playoffs. So for the last little bit of my collegiate career there, I could just focus on the playoffs.
Scott Morrow is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. I am curious, is Amherst, like, are there streets named after Cale Makar? Are there statues everywhere? Did you hear enough Cale Makar stories? Are you fed up with it?
Well, I played with his brother on my team, so I think he got a little fed up with it quicker than the rest of us. So I didn't hear too much of it due to his sake, but yeah, you definitely see his picture around the rink, that's for sure.
Now, this is what I'm curious about, because when you went to UMass, we all knew where he came from, and people were starting to talk about you as a skater, and there were some comparisons. Did you hear that? What are your thoughts about following there when somebody like Cale Makar came out of there?
Well, I don't think those comparisons are entirely fair. I'm trying to, just make my way into the league right now, and he's a superstar. Already one of the best defensemen to ever play.
Yeah.
So it'd be pretty cool if I could get to a level eventually as close to where he is now. So I don't want to get in the game of comparing myself to him, but certainly seeing a guy who I try to emulate in a lot of ways with just the style that I play, have that level of success at UMass, definitely was one of the reasons that I had confidence going there. And I felt like I could play my kind of game there because I do try to do a lot of similar things to Cale on the ice.
Scott Morrow is joining us here. I know a lot of Hurricanes fans just went, oh, yes, that's what we want. Somebody who does things like Cale Makar. Scott Morrow with us here. A couple of more quick things before we let you go. And the first is, have you tried to convince any of the veterans that they need a day off or two before the season is over so you can jump on the ice and play?
No. That's not my call, I have to say. I just got to meeting everybody this morning, so I don't think we're there yet. But
I mean, you look, I'm always looking out for my guy Brett. So Brett's, he's been around. He knows he might just need a day off. So I'm trying to help out all parties here. If you had to describe what your best trait is as a player, what would it be?
I think probably the strongest area of my game is just being a good passer, and I take pride in trying to put every puck on the guy's tape that I'm passing to. Obviously, like coming to an entirely new team with the game at a different speed, it might take a week or two to really get back to the point where every single puck is like on the guy's tape right where they want it, just because I'm getting to know my new teammates and getting used to the speed of the game. But I think that's one of the biggest things I took pride in my game in the past, is just being able to, if I get a puck that doesn't put me in a great position, I can take that puck and give it to one of my teammates, and put them in a good position. So that's what I hope to bring to this team.
All right, final thing for Scott Morrow, and I know there's not, it's not super crowded yet, but who is next to you in the locker room, or do they put you like in a closet or somewhere?
Right next to Chatty and Tony D'Angelo on one side, and then Spencer Martin and Seth Jarvis on the other. So,
oh my gosh.
I got a nice spot in the corner, good view of the room. So I'm happy about it.
You're in a good spot. Those are some of my favorite guys, by the way.
Yeah.
Be careful with Seth. You just never know with number 24, Scott Morrow, who for right now is wearing 56. I appreciate your time. Congratulations. Welcome to the big leagues, and we'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on.
You got it. Scott Morrow here on the Adam Gold Show. When we come back, it's a Wednesday. It's a Chip Patterson Wednesday. We'll Chip-a-lytic this sucker up, because that's what we do with Chip. Next.
Serving it up hot and fresh every day. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Bring on the madness.
Final score, 76-64. The Wolfpack beats Duke. You can light up the bell tower red. The Pack is back in the national semifinals for the first time since 1983. NC State beats Duke for the second time in the month of March, this time for a trip to the Final Four. Incredible.
College basketball tournament action on 99.9 The Fan is powered by Wake Med, Roofworks, and Wilkinson Chevrolet Cadillac Buick GMC in Sanford.
Were you forced to get a nosebleed mortgage rate in the past year? Loan Pronto is here to rescue you. Hey, it's Dennis Cox. Listen, if your mortgage rate is over 7, you're going to be in heaven with Loan Pronto's zero-cost refi. You can cut your house payment by hundreds of dollars with zero closing costs. Rates have come down, so you can say goodbye to that bad loan you got stuck with. Loan Pronto's now got APRs with fixed rates in the 5s. One couple just did this and saved over $550 a month with no appraisal and closed in 10 days. So, don't live with that stupid rate a day longer. You can lock in at a lower rate now with no cost and very little paperwork. Loan Pronto, your easy button for lower rates and no closing cost loans. Call now and see how much lower you can get your house payment. Refi now and you can even skip your next 2 house payments altogether. 919-381-1760. 919-381-1760. LoanPronto.com. 919-381-1760. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Equal housing lender.
It's bow time. Something new just dropped at Bojangles. Take the bold taste of a crispy golden chicken supreme that's been seasoned to perfection, then add dill pickles, Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, and a toasted bun that's great on the go. What do you get? You get a Bo's Bird Dog. In fact, you can grab 2 of them for $5. So when you're on the go, headed to practice, or need a snack, grab a Bo's Bird Dog. Hurry in before they're gone. Available for a limited time. It's bow time.
There's no time like bow time, but sometimes it's go time. No time to stop. Introducing Bojangles' new Bird Dog, a seasoned to perfection Bojangles Chicken Supreme, dill pickles, Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, all on a toasted bun. Great on the go. Try 2 bird dogs for just $5 or a 2 bird dog combo for just $8. Hurry, Bo's Bird Dogs are available for limited time only. When you're hungry for flavor and value, it's bow time.
Psst, hey, Mark, remember, getting help from Progressive is so easy. You can use the mobile app, chat with us online, or call us.
And you pick now to tell me.
I couldn't miss Little Grace's ballet recital. Oh, thanks for inviting me, by the way.
Did I?
Because you know I'm always here for you.
Yeah. I can use the mobile app if I need help. Sorry, you're in my wife's seat, though?
Oh, yeah, I gotta go anyway.
Tell Grace she nailed her chassé.
Get the help you need from Progressive with our mobile app, online chat, or over the phone. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Organize easy. Organize tough. Customize your work truck or van with upfit solutions from Van Products. Steel and aluminum shelving, toolboxes, data files, cabinets, drawers, conduit carriers, ladder racks, everything safe and secure. Everything built as unbreakable as you by Adrian Steel. Backed by the best warranty in the business. 3 years, 36,000 miles. Everything custom installed by Van Products so you know it's done right. From a single work rig to a fleet, choose custom installed upfit solutions from Van Products.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Adam Gold.
What type of soup is Jason Kelsey?
He would be like a chicken and dumplings.
Oh, chicken and dumpling.
Yeah.
Very nice. Maybe like an Italian wedding soup. What kind of soup would Travis Kelsey be?
Travis, I feel like he'd be like a tomato bisque.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. One of my favorite Stevie Wonder tracks. Is he playing this because of Duke?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes.
Very nice.
Sir Duke.
We have several things to discuss that might impact Duke. It is Wednesday. It is time to talk with our friend Chip Patterson. CBSSports.com, Cover 3 podcast. Just ready to go. I don't know if it's the Stevie Wonder or not. But hey, before we start, did you check out the that doc, The Greatest Night in Pop, on Netflix about the making of We Are the World?
No, I've heard Bomani reference it on his podcast several times.
It's amazing.
But I'll have time for docs later.
It is busy. Like I had somebody tweet at me today. Make sure you talk about that top 25 college baseball matchup yesterday. I'm like, what happened in it? So he told me all about it, and I said, well, you apparently don't need me to talk about it, do you?
Perfect. Yeah.
So,
but we'll have that card ready to go when I'm ready to talk about college baseball.
Thank you very much. All right, let's delve into the Chipolytics.
Yep.
How improbable was what we're watching with the Wolfpack, sir?
Oh, okay. Can I put a qualifier on it?
Please do.
If I can put a qualifier
You can
on
do
it.
whatever you like.
Yeah, not that improbable. Because if you, college basketball team, were to hold, I don't know, 6 straight opponents under 40% shooting from the field,
right,
you make your odds a lot better to win basketball games. If your 9 postseason games are all right at 40%, you give yourself a pretty good chance to go and win some basketball games. I mean, this is a team that has so effectively bought in as a team on the defensive end. You know, I'm working on a story right now. It's this massive, almost like encyclopedic preview for the Final Four with, blurbs on each of the teams. And my argument is that NC State uses every square inch of the floor better than anybody else. That offensively, they do a great job of spacing the floor, obviously around DJ Burns. The improved outside shooting has helped. But then defensively, I mean, they do full court pressure at a rate that is higher than most power conference teams. And while it doesn't always lead to steals, what it does is it prevents the opponent from really being able to get set up and get in the rhythm of their offense. So, credit to Kevin Keats for identifying the right pieces and getting them all to buy in. Credit the training staff for, keeping them hydrated as they're going on this tremendous run.
Especially
and doing
Mo Diarra.
Running. I think that is the thing that is really impressive, and the thing that answers the questions about probability is that the way that NC State has played defensively is such that they have limited the margins of what they need to do. Then DJ Burns, of course, 18 points per game in this tournament run. He's answered the call the rest of the way. It makes more sense than it does when you just look at a team that lost 10 of its last 14 games in the regular season and then ripped off this heater. When you go inside how they've been playing in the heater, it is not an anomaly or a comet. If you look at the way they have been playing in the postseason, it's winning basketball.
Chip Patterson is joining us here, as he does every Wednesday. Here's the thing about it that I've tried to talk to people about when I've been asked about it. Like, I get that they lost 4 in a row, and I get we had talked about it, whether it's you and I or me on the show, talking about what I see from this team is I'd always, and people will remember I've been saying this, I always thought that they should have been performing better than they were performing. So at some point, though, you have to go, all right, for whatever reason, they're not. And they had become the DJ Horn show. And this is not his fault. It's because a lot of those other players just weren't playing well. They weren't scoring enough. They weren't providing, cover for Horn. And DJ Burns is also not playing all that well. Then about the last month of the season, something changed. Not that he dramatically changed his game, but you could see it starting to come around. They just needed to put it together. And once they got on this little run, as I've said, I'm not completely surprised that they're where they are, simply because I thought they would be good. And now we're looking at a team that, hey, when you get in, if you start playing well, you can beat anybody. There's nobody you can't beat when you get to the tournament as long as you're playing well, because it's not easy to play well.
I know you listen to the Eye on College Basketball podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you know about sorting the data?
No, I have not heard them talk about that. But
all right, so Gary Parrish invented sorting the data.
Gotcha.
At barttorvik.com, you can get efficiency ratings in a certain time frame, in a certain window.
Okay.
Since the NCAA tournament started, NC State has been the 9th most efficient team in the entire country.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just they are playing winning basketball. Yeah. And so while they are only the 6th 11 seed to be able to make it to the Final Four since the field expanded, I do think that there is something to be said. We always talk about seeding. This team was underseeded. This team was overseeded.
Right.
The ceiling for NC State, to your point, was not an 11 seed.
No.
The ceiling for this NC State team, not a 1 or a 2, not that the expectation would be there. NC State has gotten some breaks. I'm not going to ignore the fact that there have been some things that have gone the Wolfpack's way, but the ceiling for this NC State team is probably right where Clemson is, right?
Yeah.
Like a mid-bracket team that was wearing the home uniform for the first round game.
Yep.
And a 6 seed being in the Final Four is not crazy. We see that kind of stuff happen all the time. It's just that NC State was not performing consistently to that ceiling. They were seeded according to their results, which was largely more losses than wins over the last 2 months of the season.
Here's the thing about where the Wolfpack were during the year. If they beat Virginia Tech, and the sad part about that Virginia Tech loss was that it came after that Wake Forest win. That was such a good win, right?
Right.
If you beat Virginia Tech, if you don't get swept by Pitt, you don't lose the Pitt game. And I thought Pitt was good. I had no problem losing to Pitt. It sucks that you lost to them at home, but I thought Pitt was a legitimately good team. Didn't have the resume to make it. I'm not arguing that they should have been in. I'm just saying that I watched them. They passed my eye test.
Sure.
But so if you give them 3 more wins, and they're 12-8 in the league as opposed to 9-11. I think they finished 9-11. If you give them the 3 more wins, they might have been a 6 or a 7 seed, and we wouldn't have been so blown away by all of this. But because of what the circumstances were, it does seem more improbable. And I mean, statistically it is, because you had to win 5 times in 5 days in D.C. and get a banked-in 3 to force overtime against Virginia.
I mean, it's way more fun that it's improbable.
Right. No, I agree. But I'm just talking about in terms of how good this team should have been.
Sure.
It's not it's not a complete shock to me that they're here. And I thought they would beat Duke. I thought they would. I predicted, believe it or not, during a hockey game, because Trip Tracy asked me about it. But I said I thought State would win. I thought they were playing better than Duke.
They had a light go off in the second half of that game. That was something special.
Oh, and in the Duke game.
Yeah.
They looked like they knew they were better than Duke. Knew it.
Was it 55 second half points?
Yes.
Bananas.
Duke had averaged giving up 51 a game in their first 3 games. They gave up 55 in the second half. And State could have scored more.
Yeah, and there were just no answers.
Yeah, none.
And the confidence was incredible, just surging throughout that roster. So I think that second half offensive performance might have been one of those just,
yes.
The juices were flowing. Yeah, one of those juices were flowing. Ball was hot. What did they talk about? The energy in the ball, right?
Yeah. 17 of 20 from 2-point range, you think? You think they could replicate that?
Yeah, I would. I did not have that. Like NC State beating Duke, I did not predict that going into the game. I thought it was certainly possible. I could not have predicted that second half on either side, the NC State side or the Duke side.
It's just, the Duke thing, I think we saw coming. I was hoping for Duke's sake that the second half against Houston would have kind of turned them around, at least gotten Jeremy Roach going. But ultimately they had one guy going. It was about Jared McCain. Now there's a longer conversation about what's next for some of those players.
Is McCain coming back?
I mean, he's not going to be a super high draft pick. He's going to be a first-round pick, but he's not going to be a super high first-round pick because he's not really a point guard, right? Maybe that doesn't matter anymore, but 6'3" shooting guards, unless you're a 50% three-point shooter. He is a great three-point shooter, by the way.
Well, I think he's one of the best catch-and-shoot
I love him.
in college basketball this year.
I think he's one of the best players from the insides out in college. I love everything about Jared McCain. So I don't know what he's going to do, but he'll have options. If he wants to go pro, he'll be a first-round pick. I just don't know how early that is and whether or not that matters to him. I mean, it matters. Different things matter to different players. Let me throw another basketball thing at you, and maybe next Wednesday we'll talk about. I know we have state spring game. I know you wrote for CBS about spring game questions.
Oh my gosh, Adam! There are so many teams in the ACC. Oh my God, there are so many.
Did that take you much longer than you ever anticipated?
When we used to do this, I started at CBS back in 2010, and it was a very common thing. Like, okay, we're going to have something like spring questions.
Right.
Everybody grab a conference. Everybody do one blurb per team. And at the time in 2010, all right, cool. We'll just knock out 12 blurbs. Knock out 12 blurbs. And not only is it 17, but it's like, what in the world is happening at Stanford? For real. I think – I almost have to call the head coach, Troy Taylor. What is this big question? Because it is so difficult for me to get a pulse on what the big burning question is. So, 17 blurbs on ACC teams for the spring. Go check it out at cbssports.com.
I was reading it earlier today. So, yes, we're going to talk about it next week, Chip. We've been down this road before. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask you a couple of questions about it today. Real quick. Andy Enfield, who was at Florida Gulf Coast, then went to USC, and has said that he's now with SMU. That the only reason he went to SMU was because SMU is in the ACC, and most people are like, "Wait a second, SMU's in the ACC. When did that happen?" Yes, it happened in the summer. I guess maybe not in the summer, in the fall. Thoughts on Andy Enfield and why it didn't work out as well as it probably should have at Southern Cal?
Okay, well, what were your expectations? Because he did make an Elite Eight.
That's true.
He had USC competing in that top tier. I mean, this year they, without a doubt, fell short of expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And like put Bronny James to the side. They had a combination of Boogie Ellis and Isaiah Collier, two players who are very, very good, two players who will be playing in the National Basketball Association. And man, they did not perform well.
So why did he leave?
Because he was going to get I think he saw that USC moving from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten was going to tumble in the pecking order.
Okay.
That USC, that is restarting the clock. That is staying ahead. Like remember you and I talked about all these college football coaches, Chip Kelly, Jeff Hafley. You look around and you look at the future and you say, man, USC Trojans basketball is going to be one of the 5 to 6 bottom programs in this new expanded Big Ten. And I don't know if there's the kind of commitment here to being really good at USC basketball for me to be able to climb up above some of these other Big Ten teams. So at SMU, what do you have? You've got deep pockets.
Yes.
You've got donors that are not going to want to fall to the bottom of the ACC upon landing there. That should create some NIL opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for Andy Enfield, it was a very smart career move to be able to stay in the power conference level and get to a place where you're not just going to be a sinking ship upon arrival.
The whole thing is interesting to me. I wonder, will Bronny transfer to SMU? Where is Bronny James? I mean, he was sort of not quite, obviously not his dad as a player. What do you make of Bronny James and his college first foray into college?
I mean, obviously the health issue looms over it all.
Started at the beginning, right?
And I have heard from people who cover the sport and are involved with the sport on a 12-month basis. And I always try to clarify that because there is another level to this. I do think that among a decade plus of experience of my mercenary, should come in for 4 months a year, hit the ground running, I largely forget about college basketball after the national championship game.
Right.
The people who cover this 12 months a year will so often say that if you are a freshman and you join the team late, it is impossible for you to have an impact.
Right.
That whether it's injury or whether it's like a delayed enrollment, that missing out on being full go for all of that camp and all of those preseason practices, and the first time that you face live bullets, even in games against teams from Iowa State's non-conference schedule, like not being a part of the team and in the rhythm makes it almost impossible for you to have a true impact when you get there. So for Bronny, who had a delayed return to action after a cardiac arrest, I just think that was in my mind. I was like, I don't think I'm going to expect much. We did not get much.
Right.
And in terms of, where he goes next or what his ceiling's going to be, I know that basically you chart all the different connections. Everything from, hey, Mo Williams is the head coach at Alabama State. So if you want to go be with, Bron's old teammate Mo Williams, you've got Drew Joyce at Duquesne, right? Another connection to the Duquesne program from LeBron. Ohio State, duh. There are places where you can kind of pinpoint a potential spot for him. The question is, what's your expectation beyond that? I would say that the pro evaluators are not expecting that he's going to jump into the NBA draft.
No, he was never that type of player even before the cardiac arrest. He was always a good player, but it was going to take him some time. All right, final thing for Chip Patterson. First of all, the women's tournament has been A, amazing, and B, has exploded in terms of viewership. 12.3 million people watched LSU, on average, watched LSU Iowa. And now they're talking about, they're actually going to have these meetings about making the tournament look a lot like the men's tournament. I think they might stay with 2 regional sites where everybody plays in 2 different spots as opposed to 4. But starting away from home courts by going to neutral floors. Look, Debbie Antonelli says she hopes it stays at campus sites for the first couple of rounds because she loves those environments. But what do you make of the women's tournament and its explosion? Do you think it's the start, or is it because we've got so many noticeable stars?
Ooh, I think I would say it's more of the start than a blip. while also acknowledging that Caitlin Clark is different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't cover the sport well enough to have a good feel for that.
Right.
But here's what I do have an opinion on. I like the neutral sites for the opening rounds. I think that there is so much hope that is palpable in the air on a Thursday or Friday in the building when you've got all those teams coming through, and there's all the pep bands coming through and setting up, all the cheerleaders, all the different fans. I like it. And you get into, to take it to another level, you get into those situations where, I'm here to see my team, in, one of the morning session games, but I'm going to get there a little early, but there's an upset brewing in that early game. And guess what? Now, all of a sudden I'm an Oakland fan,
right?
And you get these moments that are just cascading with energy. And again, like it is that hope and it is that magic that is a part of March Madness. I understand the home court advantage would be something that you would always want to play for, that the home court environments give more access to students. NCAA tournament games do not give a lot of great access to students.
No.
Certainly not to the level of a home court game in the women's tournament. But I will offer, from having covered several sites, both in the first round and even in the second weekend, but especially looking at those first round games, all those different fan bases, all those different teams, all the pep bands, all the cheerleaders. It is a really, really cool moment to be a part of if you're there in the building on one of those days.
I've probably covered 20, 25 second rounds, right? Regionals in my life. There is a definite, it's almost an eerie atmosphere if you get there before the games begin, before all of the games begin.
Yes.
It is there is, you can feel tension in the building.
Yes.
It is really, really cool, and that's the difference between a home game and something like that. Their biggest fear has always been, can we sell tickets? I think the game is growing to the point where they can sell tickets. Now, there is a blip factor, though, in that all we have to do is go back, 5 years to Zion Williamson. The television ratings for Zion games are basically double what the top regular season games are today. Like there was a Zion effect, and we'll experience in many ways the same thing post Caitlin Clark. Like I'd heard somebody talking about it. I don't remember who, talking about how, people are really into the personality here. I'm like, nah, man, Caitlin Clark isn't much personality. We just know she's a baller.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's just excellence.
Right.
It is appreciating excellence.
And when we watch, we know we're going to see something that, holy crap, did you just see that? Did she shoot it from where? So that's why we watched Caitlin Clark. And I think I feel similarly about Juju Watkins, who is just awesome. Paige Beckers is also a tremendous player. I wish Angel Reese hadn't gotten the ankle injury on Monday night because it definitely compromised her game late. But, yeah, I think we watched because the players are great.
Shout out to the LSU money line. I mean, we were sitting at – I heard you say that yesterday, and I was like, oh, right there with you, brother.
Yeah. I thought I saw value there.
Well, Fernelli pitched it to me as the ultimate fade the public play.
Right?
That everyone is going to be on Iowa, Caitlin Clark, and Caitlin Clark's season not ending here and not ending to that team and not ending to that coach.
Right.
That if you could swallow it, that LSU was a decent fade the public play. But like you said yesterday on the show, 6 for 8 start for Reese, but then ankle starts bothering her. Then LSU doesn't have any answers.
None.
And the Tigers just could not defend.
They couldn't shoot their way past Angel Reese's problem, right? If they had 2 legit 3-point shooters, it would have given them a chance. But they were so interior oriented, and when Reese couldn't
trade 2 for 3s,
and And also Caitlin Clark, not only was she crazy good, but because she was so good, she made her teammates good too. Just an incredible player to watch. That's why we watch. That's why 12.3 million people tuned in. Not because she's an effervescent personality. I'm not knocking her personality, but we watched to see the play, and she was awesome. As you are, Chip Patterson, as always. Next week, I'm writing it down. Spring game questions.
So we'll have Clemson in the books. We've got Clemson this weekend.
And State this weekend, right?
State this weekend too?
I think so, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
All right. Talk to you later, man.
Sounds good. Y'all be well.
Wait, I write down 4 things for Chip. We did 2. 4 things. We did 2. We talked about the Wolfpack. We talked about the women's tournament. We didn't even talk about a couple of things that Mac Brown had to say. Maybe we'll bring back some clips of that for Chip.
I know.
Next week.
You can find it on YouTube right now, actually.
Do we know when the parade is?
No.
Next week? For both the men and the women of State? Do we know when the parade is? They haven't planned a route. I'll get up with the mayor of Raleigh and see what's going to go on there. But yeah, we spring football this weekend, and Mac didn't want his spring game on TV?
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We have to stretch. We will place bets and kind of set the table for the rest of the week. The Hurricanes will play tomorrow. Tomorrow. They will be back on a hockey rink playing against the Boston Bruins. It's getting weird in the East. I'll explain next.
Serving it up hot and fresh every day. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Are you looking for a 2-year hands-on agricultural degree while still gaining the university experience? I'm Lee Ivey, Director of the Agricultural Institute at NC State University. We offer 6 associate's degrees that span the agricultural industry and set our students up to meet their goals. Come live on campus, learn on our farms, and be a part of the NC State community. Learn more about our program online by searching NC State Ag Institute. Deadline for fall enrollment is June 1st. 2 years, 1 degree, endless possibilities.
Trust ACT Construction Equipment and Bandit Wood Chippers and Stump Grinders to position your tree service for success. ACT Construction Equipment is your authorized dealer for sales, service, parts, and rentals for Bandit Wood Chippers and Stump Grinders. ACT Construction Equipment has been your authorized dealer for Bandit equipment for over 10 years. Visit one of our 6 North and South Carolina locations or actce.com for more details on Bandit Wood Chippers and Stump Grinders. ACT Construction Equipment, always the right equipment for the job.
All right, North Carolina, FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, officially live, up and running here in the Tar Heel State. And new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you make your first $5 wager. Go to FanDuel.com, promo code AGS to sign up now. Then you can bet on everything from hoops to NASCAR and everything in between, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Get started with $200 in bonus bets, win or lose, when you place your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com, promo code AGS to get started. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. You must be 21 or older and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Fair housing is more than just a celebration in April. For North Carolina's realtors, it's an everyday standard. For the 56,000 realtors across our state, we embrace and support fair housing to stamp out discrimination in all forms. As realtors, we believe fairness is worth fighting for, and we won't stop until the fight is won. Celebrating Fair Housing Month, North Carolina Realtors. We open doors to everyone. Paid for by North Carolina Realtors.
The Body Armor State Games are coming to Charlotte this June. Registration is open to athletes of all ages and skill levels in 25 different sports. The Body Armor State Games features 13,000 athletes and 700 teams. Don't miss out on North Carolina's largest sports festival of the year. Visit bodyarmorstategames.org today. The Body Armor State Games are proud to partner with Truist, Harris Teeter, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon you wish would never end.
The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
St. Louis brought the world gooey butter cake. Now Bluebell brings us gooey butter cake ice cream. A cake batter ice cream with a luscious cream cheese swirl and gooey butter cake pieces. It's the gateway to the best in pints and half gallons.
The good old days are being made right now.
The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell ice cream at your local grocer and pick up your favorite flavor today.
This is Adam Gold.
I would like to go to the supermarket with the Bears front office.
Exactly.
Right? Oh, no. Do I want like fruits and vegetables, or do I want this box of Devil Dogs? Devil Dogs, by the way, the greatest snack cake known to mankind. Unfortunately, you need a lot of milk. Otherwise, you're out of luck.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. Victoria's here. We're going to place wagers in a matter of moments. Always thank Chip Patterson for joining us. EJ Raddick in about 45 minutes from NHL Network. Last time we spoke to EJ, it was about a week before the trade deadline. I was going back through my text messages, including a long late-night conversation about what the Hurricanes should do and whatnot, and then a follow-up when it was rumored that Elias Lindholm might be on the move again. Like, wait a second, how did that happen? Anyway, we haven't spoken since the trade deadline. Looking forward to talking to EJ about not only the Hurricanes, but the state of the Eastern Conference. And let me simply point out that it's all of a sudden really, really snug, not only to see who finishes third in the Metropolitan Division, but who will get the second wild card. I think we know that the Atlantic is sending 4 teams, maybe 5, but definitely 4. Tampa might even still catch Toronto, and I actually think that they play today. I think Tampa and Toronto are on the ice. Yes, in Toronto tonight.
They are.
7 o'clock game.
Should be good.
Oh my gosh, that might have to figure in. All right, but the Maple Leafs right now are third in the Atlantic, and the Lightning are the number 1 wild card seed, and nobody's going to catch them. They have a 7-point lead for the wild card 1, and even if you put Philadelphia in that position, it's a 6-point lead. Philadelphia's got fewer games left to play. Philadelphia's only got 6 games left.
Yeah.
The Flyers are legitimately, after being in the top 3 for basically the entire year, they are legitimately in danger of missing the playoffs, even though right now they are sitting in a playoff position. But Washington has 2 games in hand on Philadelphia, and they're only 1 point back. The Islanders have a game in hand, and they are 2 points back. Pittsburgh is sort of still in it. They probably need to win out, but they play all of these teams ahead of them pretty much between now and the end of the regular season. Like, yeah, Pittsburgh's in it, but they need so much help in order to get across. But you basically have the Flyers, the Capitals, and I'll say the Islanders, really, along with the Red Wings.
Yeah.
2 of those teams will make it. 2 of them will not.
Islanders is going to be a stretch.
Yeah, it is, but The Islanders are just 1 point behind Washington, and they are 2 points behind Philadelphia with the game in hand. So
They just have to play good. They just have to win.
yeah, the Islanders probably with 7 games left need the equivalent of 5.5 wins.
Right.
5-1-1.
Right.
5-1-1, I bet would get the Islanders into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think wild card 2 will be on 92 points. And there's no reason why the Islanders can't get to that. But I mean, it's just gotten so tight in the East. The West, we've known the 8 playoff teams for about a month.
Oh yeah.
It's just about where are they going to fit.
Sit.
Right? Dallas is going to be ahead of Colorado. I don't think Dallas is better than Colorado.
No.
But Dallas is going to be ahead of Colorado. I feel the same way about Boston and Florida. I think Florida's better, but Boston looks like they're going to win that division. Weird loss for Florida last night.
Very.
And I think Carolina's better than the Rangers, but it is hard to argue with the fact that the Rangers don't seem to ever lose.
Unfortunately.
So
unless it's a fluky game.
Right.
Sometimes they'll lose the occasional, like, what?
Maybe my argument is not sound. Maybe my argument is not sound. All right, let's get right to it. Let's stretch.
Then there's also those Canucks coming out of nowhere.
Yes, that's true.
So, music is huge in my life. I'm a huge music nerd, and I read this article saying that there actually is a rhyme and reason as to why when you listen to music or learn new music as a teenager, it sticks with you your whole life. It's a thing. It's a real thing. A therapist said that this is called a neural nostalgia, where researchers are actually finding that the music we listen to as teenagers binds our brains differently.
Oh, no.
Yes, than when you're an adult. So it can actually be useful as like a coping mechanism, which is legit. Because I went to a concert this past weekend and it was like old school music I haven't listened to in over a decade and took me right back. It is a great coping mechanism. So it helps you get out of your heads, apparently. So if you're feeling down on this hump day and you need a pick-me-up, just listen to some music like the bump song I played. That's a good example. It's an old school one. So just listen to some old school music. It might help you a little bit. But yeah, always discover new music, just in case you were wondering. Also, if you were wondering, some people need to be a little worried because Google is not actually, there's this thing called incognito searching.
Right.
For some people who want to look for things that they don't want others to know they're looking for. Well, there was a lawsuit back in 2020 that some people have found out it's not actually incognito. When you were searching and you thought, oh, no one's going to know this is confidential material, Google knows everything. They've been collecting data, and there was a lot because of this lawsuit. They now have made an agreement that they will not keep your data from your incognito searches. They are now deleting these files. Plaintiffs from this lawsuit wanted $5 billion. They are not getting $5 billion, but Google did say that they are updating their disclosure forms, allowing people to block third-party cookies in incognito mode for the next 5 years. I like how they just threw it out there, like, for the next 5 years. So you've got 5 years, and then you're going to have to remember to do this again. And then, last but not least, speaking of, I guess if you want to call it older music that you might have enjoyed a long time ago, Jennifer Lopez. Yeah, remember she made music. She is actually having some trouble with ticket sales.
Oh, no.
I know. Who would have thought it?
What?
Jennifer Lopez having trouble. So she's canceled some of her tours. However, now she's renaming it. Kind of like when a brand or a team has a bad owner and they decide to just change the name and that fixes it.
Right.
That's what she's doing with her bad tour. So it was called This Is Me, period. Now it's called This Is Me, ... live, the greatest hits. So she's trying to get She is trying to tap in to those brains where people maybe listened to her when they were teenagers, so they'll actually buy her tickets. So there you go. If you
Good luck.
want to, yeah, good luck with that, Lopez. So yeah, there you go. But you know what we need good luck for sometimes? Placing bets.
Yeah, it was over yesterday. Let's move on.
I bet you slice into the woods.
Let's just move on.
Gambling is illegal at Bushwood, sir, and I never slide. Okay, you can owe me. I owe you nothing.
So do you think this is one of those days where, like, maybe the Rangers kind of lose a strange one to the Devils?
No, I'm not feeling it. I think the Rangers will win.
All right.
I don't know.
All right.
I think they will.
We'll figure it out.
That was going to be one of your bets.
I don't know. It might be.
Okay, well, I'm sticking with the Ice tonight. The Kraken, they're going through some stuff.
Yep.
They're in Los Angeles versus the Kings. I think the Kings will win, but I think Adrian Kempe will be an anytime goal scorer because I don't think he had one the last game, but I'm feeling it this game. Plus 185.
All right, Adrian Kempe is a hell of a player.
He is.
Devils are going to beat the Rangers at Madison Square Garden tonight, plus 170.
Okay, well, I'll look at that one too. So the Devils and the Rangers, you know what? I'm going to say Mika Zibanejad's going to be an anytime goal scorer because why is he plus money? I don't know, but he's plus 190. So
He's not a 50 goal scorer, so I get it.
No, but
I get it.
I think he will. I think he'll get it tonight.
All right, I apparently am all about road teams today. So let's do a two money line NHL parlay. Edmonton winning at Dallas. Edmonton slightly plus is plus 102. Tampa winning in Toronto to tighten up that race. And combined, that's plus 295.
Okay, I agree with you there. I do think Tampa's going to win in Toronto. I'm actually going to this game as well. Stamkos got a goal last game. However, I'm going to go with Braden Point for this one. He's plus 155.
All right, I believe that Arsenal will try and score a goal this time, which they didn't do against Manchester City.
Just put it out there.
What a disappointing great match that was on Sunday. Try. Arsenal's going to cover 2.5 goals. Leandro Trossard will be an anytime goal scorer. That creates some value out of this because Arsenal should name their own final score. That's plus 240 if those two things happen.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Now that we're in the swing of things, have you tried your hand at some MLB bets yet? Hey, it's Victoria Vodnecker here for BetMGM, and last night still produced some unpredictable MLB turnouts, which could really be beneficial if you like to change things up and go with the underdog sometimes. This is the perfect time to try your hand at making predictions because right now you can get $150 in bonus bets just by making your first $5 wager and using code VICTORIA150. Whether you win or lose, you still get $150 in bonus bets. Plus, when you're using the BetMGM app, you'll have options like same-game parlays, live bets, prop bets, and I love that BetMGM even offers fun daily promotions to keep things interesting. So for $5, you'll get $150 to experiment with in bonus bets by using code VICTORIA150. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only, North Carolina only. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
What are you doing? I'm training for the new Ultimate Dash Scratch-Offs. I could get a chance to dash through a warehouse full of prizes.
That explains the shopping cart.
Plus, I could win up to $2 million in cash.
And that explains the tuxedo.
I'm chafing.
Feel the rush with new Ultimate Dash Scratch-Offs from the North Carolina Education Lottery. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning are 1 in 3.78. Problem gambling helpline 877-718-5543.
He's a former coach with two sons who played professional basketball. Satch Sullinger's a competitive individual, but his golf game was suffering because of painful joints.
Right. That's real important. The golf game. Right. As we get older, we create these bad habits because we're relegated to hit a certain way.
QC Kinetics used regenerative treatments, all natural healing properties from Satch's own body, to restore those damaged joints and get his golf game back on track.
QC Kinetics Regenerative Medicine is regenerating me. All natural. And that's what I'm about. I'm going to tell everybody why I'm better.
Oh, and by the way, looks like the competitive Satch is back.
We're all in the same boat, and I'm getting better, and I'm watching them stay old.
Go to QCkinetics.com. Get relief and your game back. Call for your complimentary consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 919-400-5473. That's 919-400-5473. In Cary, Clayton, Raleigh, and Wake Forest, 919-400-5473.
You got a service dog?
Actually, he's a deals dog. Since I'm looking for a new car, I trained him to sniff out awesome rates, member discounts, and fast decisions. Cool, huh?
But you know Navy Federal Credit Union has all those things, right?
You're right. He's got the scent. Oh, wait. Nope. That's just the bacon in my pocket.
Apply for a Navy Federal Credit Union auto loan online, at a branch, or on our mobile app. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Message and data rates may apply. Visit NavyFederal.org for more information.
April is here. Time to call Window Nation. Right now, buy 2 windows and get 2 free. Plus, save even more with no interest or payments for 24 months. Don't miss out. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
Are you someone who tries to drive while distracted by your phone? Someone who props it on the steering wheel or peeks down at it for a glance? Or just scrolls and scrolls? If so, you could be the next person to get into a fender bender, get a ticket, veer off the road, or even cause a crash that kills you or someone else. Enough already. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
This hour on the Triangle Sports Leader is brought to you by the Ritchie Law Firm Injury Lawyers.
You can feel the madness!
Go to GotBrian.com. That's GotBrian.com.
WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on radio, web, app, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
You have to close possessions down, and State has one of the best rebounders in the country with Mo Diarra, right? So they do a pretty good job forcing turnovers. With their switch, they can take away some of your automatic off-ball reads that make you play deeper into the shot clock. They're doing a better job controlling the paint, and then they've got an elite defensive rebounder, Mo Diarra, who's flying around making plays, not just rebounding, like his blocks and individual defense have been incredible too. But I think if I had to highlight it, it would just be that they're just doing a better job guarding ball screens and taking away the paint.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. That was Brian Geisinger from yesterday. 1 week from tomorrow, we'll be done celebrating NC State's 2 national championships. I think. We could be still celebrating 1 week from tomorrow. But it also will be the first round of the Masters. I know Tiger Woods flew up to Augusta last week, get a few practice rounds in. Don't anticipate him making the cut, but it would be nice. Shane Ryan, at Shane Ryan here on Twitter, Golf Digest, author extraordinaire, smart man, occasional comedian, joins us to talk about the Masters. You and I were texting back and forth the other day, and I wanted to just start this conversation here. Rory McIlroy yesterday was talking, and he's playing in the Texas Open this week. He was talking about how much golf needs a reconciliation between the players who left for the LIV Golf Tour and the PGA Tour. And I feel like I'm the only one who doesn't think that he's right. And I am always Team Rory. But no offense to any of the guys that left. They're great players. I'm not suggesting they're not. But I don't have a sense of like remorse. I don't miss them. That even John Rahm, as great as he is in the regular tour event, I'll see him this week. I'll see him next week. That's where I want to see him. I don't care if they play in the Houston Open or not.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are with you. Obviously, I think it's better for the PGA Tour if there's a reconciliation. They want, they want to do everything they can to justify this massive television contract that they have.
Right.
And if they don't have the best players, that gets tough. And it gets now, luckily, they have a few years left on that, but it gets tough when you think about renegotiating for next time. I would think LIV and the people behind it also want a reconciliation because their product isn't any good. Nobody watches it. So they want, what they want is influence in the golf world. That was the whole purpose
Right.
of Live Golf in the first place. So they do want, to have their money into the most visible aspect of it, which would be the PGA Tour and the majors. But yeah, in terms of the average viewer, it's hard to say. It's hard. People who watch every week or who, tune in, more than just for the majors, I would think abstractly that, yeah, of course we want Jon Rahm there and Cam Smith and people like that. But, it's week to week. It's all about, sometimes it's great stories like Scotty Scheffler. Sometimes it's somebody like Nick Dunlap who you've never heard of before. There are plenty of good stories. And I think maybe the PGA Tour has seen a slight dip in ratings because of losing these guys. It's nobody else's game. It's just their loss. But I don't think it's that big a deal. I don't think it moves the needle that much. And certainly people right now are overvaluing how much golfers are worth. The idea that somebody would be paid hundreds of millions of dollars to go play is, absurd. These guys are not NFL quarterbacks.
Right.
So I don't think the average American viewer is crying the blues that Jon Rahm's not there anymore. Because there's only two people, forgetting Tiger Woods, there's only two people who have a significant impact on television ratings. That's Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth. There's nobody else.
I agree. Those are the two guys. Those are the two guys who move the needle. No, but actually, for a long time, I thought Bryson DeChambeau did. Right, but DeChambeau's game is not what it was, and I still think he'd be a draw. But none of the other guys, and that includes Rahm. I do think that Rory. I think Rory is at this point exhausted. I think we've maybe underestimated how much, fighting the good fight for whatever, for a lack of a better phrase. I think we've kind of underestimated how much that took out of him. I think he just wants all of this to be over, and he is just hoping to expedite the process.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you look at his position where, he spent more than a year being by far the most vocal proponent of the PGA Tour. Nobody really had his back, right? Even the guys who stayed, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Scotty Scheffler, those guys weren't talking about it very much. Jon Rahm wasn't talking about it very much, other than to say that, the money didn't mean anything to him.
Right.
He would never jump for big amounts of money. But really, those guys would say something, once a year or twice a year, and Rory was doing it every single year. I put together a little piece on his evolution over the past 5 years, even right back to when the PGL was a thing. And literally every single week there's a press conference where he's spending 10, 20 minutes answering questions about, whatever incarnation of Live Golf was happening at the time. Yeah, he was exhausted. He admitted that last year. Yeah, I mean, when he came into the Masters last year, he was just absolutely beat. He had a terrible tournament, and he was pissed off afterward. And then I think he was more pissed off after the merger happened because he had been doing this. And look, Rory gained a lot from Live Golf, and Rory gained a lot of money and a lot of power, and he used his leverage to change the whole format of the PGA Tour to make himself and the other good players millions more dollars. So we're not crying the blues for him, but yeah, I mean, he was undermined to some degree by that merger. And, if you believe that he didn't know anything about it going in, it's one of those crazy things where, why did I do this? Why did I spend the last 18 months of my life, being the guy in the spotlight when this was going to happen?
Shane Ryan is joining us here. Author, The Cup They Couldn't Lose. I love when you write about the Ryder Cup. Still go back to the piece you wrote for Golf Digest about what happened at Glen Eagles back, which now is, it's 10 years ago? Is it really 10 years?
10 years ago, 10 years ago this fall.
My gosh, at Shane Ryan here on Twitter. So as we're talking about Rory, if I could just kick it forward to the actual golf tournament before we go and maybe talk about some other things. There's so much pressure on him. Do you think there'll ever be a time where there's not pressure on Rory McIlroy to win the Masters?
Yeah, it'll be when he wins.
After, right?
No, I mean, as glib as that sounds, yeah. I mean, or when he becomes too old for it to be realistic anymore. But until then, I think there will be more pressure on him. Okay, here's what I would say: there'd be slightly less pressure on him if the guy can just win any major. So let's say he goes and finishes 10th in the Masters, but he wins the PGA or he wins the Open or he wins the U.S. Open. Then there's a little less pressure because at least this, we talk about 10 years. At this year's, in August of this year, that'll be 10 years since Rory won a major, and which is wild to think about. Especially wild if you put yourself back in 2014 when the guy looked so dominant and so good to say, we're not going to see him win another for another decade.
It's amazing.
So it's so close. It almost seems like a curse at this point. So, and he, you watch Full Swing, he feels it. I mean, after these tournaments are over, he feels it. He is very an acute absence of not winning these. I mean, St. Andrews, I think, was the biggest heartbreak of his professional life.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so I think that would mitigate it somewhat. But look, the reality is this is a tournament that he should have won when he was, 23 or something?
Should have been his first major.
Yeah, it should have been his first major. And since then, and, now we're at the point where we complete the career slam, which is, of course, a huge hallmark of the really great golfers. And so, yeah, always going to be pressure. He's always going to feel it. And I think he knows it. I don't even think he tries to pretend anymore. It's just a fact of life. There's going to be pressure here. And to win it, you're going to have to do something really, really special, because not only do you have to beat the course and 80 other players, but you're going to have to beat that pressure too.
Yeah, he's going to have to beat whatever demons are lurking inside his own head. It should be a good year for majors for him. He won at Valhalla, and that was his last one. And I mean, I may be the only one who thinks this. I don't know. I'm sure there are others. I think Pinehurst is made for him. I mean, the fairways are gigantic, and he is a tremendous chipper of the golf ball. And you're going to have to chip and even putt from off the green. I think he's great at that. So, I mean, I give him a great chance to win down at number 2. But I think this really could this could be a good summer, even if it's not a great spring at Augusta. What is the big storyline for you? Is it Scotty Scheffler, who somehow didn't win from a winning position this past week, but is Scheffler potentially being a good enough putter to never lose again? Is that the story? What is the storyline? Or is it the return of Rahm and some of the other guys?
Yeah, I think the biggest storyline, on the course is just Scheffler, like you said. I mean, the guy is playing. I think the way he's playing, especially with his irons and off the tee, I think is the closest we've come to seeing peak Tiger. And I include Spieth in that. I include Rory in that. He's so unbelievably good that, you look at strokes gain stats. He's number 1 in everything except putting. And putting, he's, like you said, he's doing well enough to survive right now. He's doing, I think his strokes gained for the first time are positive, and they're just barely positive, but it beats what it was before. And so, yeah, it shows you. I mean, it just shows you that if the guy can just putt competently, he's miles better than anybody playing right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, Augusta's a putter's course, right? I mean, he's great at Augusta. Obviously, he won a green jacket. He can't have a really bad week on the greens and win, though. But I would think he's the heavy favorite to go there. But it is. It's a good. I mean, Rahm coming back is a tremendous story too. I mean, this guy is. Who would have thought that the first time he defends the Masters, he's with Live Golf? That wasn't predictable at all. Even in like August, right? I mean, it was even in November it wasn't predictable, and then in December he goes, and it was a shock. So. Yeah, I mean, if he could get in the mix, imagine Scheffler versus Rahm on Sunday. You like to entertain these little fantasies that never quite seem to happen. Although we did get a similar thing last year with Rahm and Koepka, and Rahm was the good guy, right? Rahm was the PGA Tour guy, and Koepka was the heel, the live heel. So,
but was he? Well, see, I don't look at it's very weird. I don't look at Brooks Koepka as the heel. I look at him as somebody, and I think the Full Swing documentary basically led us into it, that he wouldn't have gone if he didn't think his body just couldn't hold up. Like, I think if he was confident that he could play 20 tournaments a year, I think he would have stayed on the PGA Tour. He can't be having any real fun.
No, I totally agree with you. I was speaking broadly there,
right?
The overarching narratives. But I think
my
you're
fault.
right. I think he hasn't quite said it, but he's implied it. Basically, the idea of he thought his career was over, and then all of a sudden he finally recovered from his injuries. He was great. But the funny thing with Koepka is he's always been a majors only guy anyway.
Absolutely,
not that he hasn't ever won, but so why not, right? If he can still compete in majors, maybe he's doing the best thing for himself.
He is.
Certainly got a lot of extra money for it.
I thought those guys were all supposed to rep whatever their live team was. Koepka never does.
It was so funny at the PGA when they asked him about Liv after he won, and he said, I just want to focus on it. I mean, you couldn't, of all the people on Liv to have won the first major, you couldn't have asked for a worse guy in terms of, gassing up the league a little bit.
He just doesn't care.
No, he's very casual and sort of, it's funny. Now, Rahm is somebody who I think kind of sees himself more as like the media savvy type guy. If he won, I think he would, he'd give us the spiel. But no, Koepka won't do it.
He might. It's funny. I saw the interview he did with Marty Smith, and we'll let you go here in a second, Shane Ryan from Golf Digest. The interview he did with Marty Smith of ESPN, he almost had to remind himself, and after he won his first tournament, he almost had to remind himself, oh, yes, I'm supposed to mention the team golf aspect here and how great the team golf. He's not really into it. I think Rahm just believed that we were going to have a merger very quickly and that ultimately he would come back to the PGA Tour and he would come back with however many hundreds of millions of dollars that they paid him to go. But I don't think that if this merger takes 2 years, I don't think John's going to be all that thrilled.
No, I think you're totally right. And I even saw a story with Phil today where he's saying, this has got to happen. It's got to happen soon. And I think for guys like Rahm, he expected this would already be a done deal, which is, it's funny. It's quite a risk, right? Like you take a big risk when you do something like that, and we always say that's what the money is for. But I agree. He's probably not super happy with, not only the fact that it hasn't happened yet, but the fact that with this investment from SSG, it may not happen.
Right. It might not. I mean, it's certainly not going to happen quickly, and then we have to figure out what's the path back, because there's a lot of animosity. Maybe not from Rory anymore, but I think there's a lot of animosity from other players about how does this happen without financial penalty? What is it going to look like? I think there's a lot of players who are pretty bitter about it. Shane Ryan, author, The Cup They Couldn't Lose, and just one of the greats for Golf Digest. I appreciate it, man. Have fun at Augusta. I will talk to you soon.
All right, have fun in Phoenix, Adam. Thanks.
Hey, thank you very much. Yes, I am going to have fun in Phoenix. Between basketball and hockey, I got all sorts of stuff to do. All sorts of stuff. All right, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the new camp. I'm going to answer your question in a more broader sense, Victoria. You asked me about the future.
Mm-hmm.
We talked to Scott Morrow earlier, and I've had people ask me already, what does this mean for him and others? Next.
Going beyond the box scores. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
You're always close to the Canes with 99.9 The Fan.
47 seconds left in overtime. Jarvis now his feet. Dropper, Natchez, he scores! Natchez in overtime, and the Canes win it 3-2.
Count on us to bring you every Canes game night and the latest Canes news from insider Adam Gold, your official home for the Carolina Hurricanes. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports leader.
Adam Gold here from my man, Coach Pete D'Arruda, Capital Financial Advisory Group in Apex. Why do I call him Coach Pete D'Arruda? Because he has a game plan for your retirement. All great coaches have game plans customized based on the opponent, or in your case, the client. You know what else I could call Coach Pete D'Arruda? The Exterminator. Why? Because he is getting rid of the financial termites that can erode your retirement savings. You know what? Calling somebody an exterminator doesn't necessarily sound great, but it's effective here because financial termites are a real thing, and Coach Pete D'Arruda can help. And all you have to do is call 888-843-0013 or text Adam to 600-700, and we are going to get you in front of the Exterminator. Coach Pete D'Arruda, who has a customized total retirement plan for you for your retirement needs. All you have to do, call 888-843-0013 or text Adam to 600-700 for the Terminator, Coach Pete D'Arruda.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
The time is now, folks. Dennis Cox here with my friends over at Law Tigers. Law Tigers, Tobacco Road, Harley-Davidson, Shiny Side Paint, and your Carolina Hurricanes. They're all teaming up to give the ultimate Canes fan a custom Hurricanes 2023 Harley-Davidson soft toe motorcycle. But we're in the 11th hour, folks. It's going to be given away on April 5th, which means you need to enter now. Go to caniacsbike.com. That's caniacsbike.com for your chance to win this custom painted beauty of a bike. Again, caniacsbike.com. Enter now.
It's bow time. Something new just dropped at Bojangles. Take the bold taste of a crispy golden chicken supreme that's been seasoned to perfection, then add dill pickles, Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, and a toasted bun that's great on the go. What do? You get a Bo's Bird Dog. In fact, you can grab 2 of them for $5. So when you're on the go, headed to practice, or need a snack, grab a Bo's Bird Dog. Hurry in before they're gone. Available for a limited time. It's bow time.
There's no time like bow time, but sometimes it's go time. No time to stop. Introducing Bojangles' new Bird Dog, a seasoned to perfection Bojangles chicken supreme, dill pickles, Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, all on a toasted bun. Great on the go. Try 2 bird dogs for just $5 or a 2 bird dog combo for just $8. Hurry, Bo's Bird Dogs are available for limited time only. When you're hungry for flavor and value, it's bow time.
Adam Gold here for my friends at CertaPro Painters, the painting professionals. And let me tell you, that's something that I don't want to do in my own house. My wife likes it. I don't. These people love it. They are the professionals. You can also trust them to get the job done right and safely and quickly. And each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, which means they live in our community. And you can schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. When choosing a painting professional, the choice is simple. Choose happy. Choose CertaPro Painters.
This is Adam Gold.
What type of soup is Jason Kelsey?
He would be like a chicken and dumplings.
Oh, chicken and dumpling.
Yeah.
Very nice. Maybe like an Italian wedding soup. What kind of soup would Travis Kelsey be?
Travis, I feel like he'd be like a tomato bisque.
The Adam Gold Show.
Oh, it's already up. Scott Morrow's already up on
yes,
YouTube.
He is.
Very
yes,
nice.
He is.
YouTube.com. The Carolina Hurricanes have a new cane, have a new blue liner, a new defenseman. The future, Scott Morrow, who joined us about an hour, a little over an hour ago, 80 minutes ago. So let me tell you why. First of all, it's cool that he's here. He is not expected to ever play. There would have to be injuries for Scott Morrow to play. Unless we get to the last game of the regular season, there's nothing to be gained from Carolina, putting their best players on the ice. You can't improve your position, blah, blah. None, like if that's the case, and the Hurricanes have guys that just simply need another day, right? So he's not going to play. It's very likely they'll bring up Dylan Coughlin to be an extra body here during the playoffs as well. But here's what Morrow, he's going to just be around. You'll kind of get a feel for your surroundings. So when you get here next year and you get to training camp and you get to the prospect tournaments and all of the stuff that happens in the summer, none of this will feel odd to you. But here is the reality if you are a Hurricanes fan. The likelihood is that Brady Shea and Brett Pesce will both be elsewhere. That hurts. Like if you saw Victoria's making a face like she smelled something bad.
I don't like it.
Like I was in there. Like I was in that studio with you. So, yeah, and that's the way Hurricanes fans are probably, you don't want to think about it now because, you've got other way more important things to think about. But Brady Shea and Brett Pesce, maybe one of them. I'd be stunned if it were both of them. Stunned. Keep this in mind. Alexander Nikishin, the kid from Russia, is going to be awesome. I mean, theoretically, you never know how somebody is going to come into the NHL for the first time. But he's arguably the best player in the KHL. Forget about the best defenseman. He's arguably the best player in the KHL. Scott Morrow was a Hobey Baker Award finalist as a defenseman in college hockey. So those two guys, one's a lefty, one's a righty, works out well. Those two guys are going to be part of this team. Jacob Slavin is going to have a new contract in tow. After next season, it'll likely be negotiated this offseason. I don't know what the future of Brent Burns is, but next year, Dmitry Orlov will be here. It would be my guess that Jalen Chatfield will have a new contract. I just don't know what they're going to be able to do to keep Brett Pesce and Brady Shea here. I think it's probably more likely that it's Pesce because I think it is more likely that Pesce will not have the same opportunities that Shea will. 30 years old, yes. Pesce's, I think, a year younger than Shea. Shea's a better skater.
Mm-hmm.
Shea's a better offensive player. Pesce's probably the better defender. But I don't see, without a lot of offense to show, I don't see how Brett Pesce's going to go on the open market and get 7 times 6.5.
Right.
I think that number will be smaller in both categories. And maybe it won't. I love Brett. Team Pesce.
All day.
One of my favorite human beings that has ever worn a Hurricane sweater. So whatever is best for Brett Pesce, I want. But I just don't see him having the same market as Shea does, which means I think there is a better chance that he stays than Shea does. And by the way, as I did on the podcast right after the Hurricanes clinched the playoffs, Brett is one of the core 5 who was here before they made the playoffs, right? Teravainen was here, Aho was here, Stahl, Slavin, Pesce. Everybody else either joined in year 1, Martinook, Svechnikov, or came the following year like Shea, right? Or maybe even the year after that like Jesper Fast. But for the most part, there's only 5 guys who were here when it wasn't good. And Pesce is one of that group. And you'd love to see that extended. I just don't see how they keep, unless Brett is willing to take less than he believes he deserves. So I think it'll go to free agency. And then we'll see if somebody is willing to pay him, then I will miss the hell out of Brett Pesce.
Same.
So, and if Pesce is listening, I will cry.
Yeah.
I think that highly of him. I might not cry, but
Maybe.
it's fine. It's fine.
Maybe
it's
watery
not like watching
eyes.
The Rookie.
I mean, there is pollen, too, so you could just blame it on that, even if it's later in the year.
It's a very good point. It would be later in the year, but I will blame it on the pollen at that. Ragweed.
Oh,
when
it's
is
something in the
when
air.
is ragweed season?
Oh, it's a
I don't
bug.
really know. So, Morrow is going to be here. Whether he's here next year that's what we don't know. You don't want to put Morrow on the ice until he's ready to be an NHL player. But 3 years in college, as good as he was in college hockey, one of the best, if not the best defenseman in the NCAA, as good as that sport has become at the college level, if he's ready, then he might be your third pair right-sided defenseman. Because if I think if I can follow the organization, which I used to be able to do, and apparently with free agency this year and the trade deadline maneuvers, I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I think their hope is that Orlov and Chatfield will just simply slot up. You've got one more year of Brent Burns. I wouldn't be completely shocked if they decided to, Brent, you're just still good.
Yes.
Do you want to play another year?
Age is nothing but a number for that one.
I wouldn't be shocked if that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's played almost 800 consecutive games now,
It's
is it? Whatever the
ridiculous.
number is. It's crazy.
I bet he was one of those perfect attendance kids in school, too.
Yeah.
I bet he was. Maybe not. Maybe not.
No, I don't think so.
Was there skating involved? Yes.
Yeah.
No? Otherwise, yeah.
2014 was the last time he missed a game, right?
Yeah.
So the roster is going to be very different. Like, are they going to pay Teuvo Teravainen? Andre already makes what he makes. Seth Jarvis is probably going to be, if they sign him to an 8-year deal, is probably going to be closer to Aho than he is to Svechnikov, if we're being honest here, especially as he gets better and better and better. If Natchez has a really good postseason, they might want to keep him too. I'd be in support of that. And I think they're certainly keeping an open mind to that. And I think Natchez probably impacts Teravainen more than any other player impacts Teuvo Teravainen. Do you bring back Jordan Martinook, who really is part of the culture?
100%.
Right? You paid Jesper Fast, who, I don't know, might be a slightly better version in terms of the role you want him to play. Martinook has better finishing ability.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about that. So, do you bring back Jordan Martinook? Do you give him the same contract you just gave Jesper Fast? Maybe you do. I don't know. But if you're going to pay all these other guys, you got to figure out a way to be cheap in some places. Now, in a year, they'll be cheap in goal. Kochetkov still has 3 more years left at $2 million a year. Freddie's got 1 more year left at 3.4.
Yeah.
So if you have 2 defensemen on entry-level deals and you can get some of your young, find some minor leaguers or some guys on, league minimum contracts, Brendan Lemieux's on one, to fill out your roster, you can be inexpensive that way, then you can possibly stack your lineup a little bit. But
a lot of chess.
Oh, there's a lot of work on a spreadsheet that has to get done.
Mm-hmm.
But Scott Morrow is here, and I think he's 50-50 maybe to make the team next year, but it's cool that he's here. It's cool that he's going to watch all this, and who knows? Maybe he'll get into a game. But I don't think they certainly don't want that to be the case. It would be out of necessity. When we come back, we'll talk more about where the Hurricanes are on the ice, not off the ice. I didn't even mention the potential of re-signing Jake Gensel, which I think
who knows? Yeah,
I think they're going to give it a shot.
Yeah,
but it'll be after July 1. I'm almost positive of that. Jake Gensel owes it to himself to go into free agency. Then if the Hurricanes can re-sign him, they'll re-sign him. Anyway, we'll talk to E.J. Raddick of NHL Network about where the Hurricanes are in terms of their team, and then we'll look at the East next.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Trust ACT Construction Equipment and Bandit Wood Chippers and Stump Grinders to position your tree service for success. ACT Construction Equipment is your authorized dealer for sales, service, parts, and rentals for Bandit Wood Chippers and Stump Grinders. ACT Construction Equipment has been your authorized dealer for Bandit equipment for over 10 years. Visit one of our 6 North and South Carolina locations or actce.com for more details on Bandit Wood Chippers and Stump Grinders. ACT Construction Equipment, always the right equipment for the job.
During this sports season, the Governor's Highway Safety Program would like to remind you to buckle your seatbelt when traveling to and from athletic events. Whether you are driving out of or across town, wearing a seatbelt is your best defense against injury or death in a crash. Start the season off right. Prioritize your safety and buckle up. Every seat, every time. Remember, click it or ticket. It's the law. This message is brought to you by the North Carolina High School Athletic Association and the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
NC Medicaid is for more people like me.
Adults who don't have children.
People who serve.
People who do the heavy lifting.
Child care teachers.
Full health care coverage at low or no cost.
Doctor's visits, emergency rooms, and prescriptions.
So if you applied before and didn't get it, apply again.
NC Medicaid covers more people than ever before.
NC Medicaid is for more people. See if you qualify at medicaid.nc.gov.
Fair housing is more than just a celebration in April. For North Carolina's realtors, it's an everyday standard. For the 56,000 realtors across our state, we embrace and support fair housing to stamp out discrimination in all forms. As realtors, we believe fairness is worth fighting for, and we won't stop until the fight is won. Celebrating Fair Housing Month, North Carolina Realtors. We open doors to everyone. Paid for by North Carolina Realtors.
The Body Armor State Games are coming to Charlotte this June. Registration is open to athletes of all ages and skill levels in 25 different sports. The Body Armor State Games features 13,000 athletes and 700 teams. Don't miss out on North Carolina's largest sports festival of the year. Visit bodyarmorstategames.org today. The Body Armor State Games are proud to partner with Truist, Harris Teeter, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon you wish would never end. The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
St. Louis brought the world gooey butter cake. Now Bluebell brings us gooey butter cake ice cream. A cake batter ice cream with a luscious cream cheese swirl and gooey butter cake pieces. It's the gateway to the best in pints and half gallons.
The good old days are being made right now. The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell ice cream at your local grocer and pick up your favorite flavor today.
Having health insurance is important. So, if you or anyone in your family has Medicaid or CHIP, listen up. Check your mail for a renewal form from your state. Complete the form and mail it back right away so you don't lose your coverage. If you do lose Medicaid or CHIP, visit healthcare.gov to see if you're eligible to enroll in a low-cost, quality health plan. Keep your family covered. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is Adam Gold.
Anti-vax, anti-sax. Who's going to say no to that on the campaign trail? You can put that on a bumper sticker. You can slap that on the podium when Aaron Rodgers is at the campaign rally. You're not going to be a football player for the Jets and be on the ticket and campaign. You can't do both.
The Adam Gold Show.
EJ Raddick, NHL Network, joining us on the Adam Gold Show. My text messages, sir, tell me that we have not spoken since just before the trade deadline. So, how would you assess Jake Gensel and Yevgeny Kuznetsov? Man, I never, ever, ever thought that would. I mocked it. I know this organization too well. Maybe I don't know it at all. But totally stunned me. They went all in. I salute them for doing it. Early returns aren't bad.
No, the early returns are fabulous. I think, Gensel's had great start. He's had great chemistry with Aho.
Yeah.
What has he got, like 16 points in 14 games, something along those lines.
Yeah.
He's been really good. But I still think the key for me was getting Svechnikov, because when we had last talked and exchanged notes, I mean, my concern with Carolina was kind of that second center slot.
Yeah.
And watching Kuzi play since he's come over, he looks very engaged, very happy to be there,
yes,
very aware that this is a really important opportunity for him right now. And he seems like he has a little bit of a new lease on life. So just he doesn't have to light it up every night, but just has to be close to what he's been in the past. And you slide him in behind Aho, kind of in front of Stahl, and it just sets the whole team up better. I always talk about slotting, going back to my days when I was scouting. It's like, slotting guys in the right spot. And, when Carolina, that was that glaring hole within their group. And now that's not there. and it puts the other guys in better position to succeed. So, that was the biggest one to me. That was the most surprising too, because I didn't think there was any way that Washington was going to be able to move Kuznetsov based on all the circumstances around him. But I thought it was a bold play by Donnie Waddell and company there.
Yeah.
And that's been, and then you add Gensel, who's been terrific. But I think Gensel works better with the fact that you've added
all of it.
You've added Kuznetsov there to the mix.
So I've been talking about that since the addition. And by the way, the Kuznetsov addition is very much on brand for this franchise. Buying a depressed value and thinking that they can turn it around. The initial Kuznetsov first 4 or 5 games was awesome. I think because he had been kind of dormant for a while. That there's been the inevitable wall hit, but he is making plays, and you can see him coming out on the other side. We still haven't figured out, or they haven't, because I have nothing to do with it. They haven't figured out how they're going to deploy all of these weapons. Like, I think Kuznetsov and Natchez were born to play with one another, but it's kind of been a defensive disaster at times. They might just live with it because of where it's going to slot in the lineup, especially on home ice, knowing that they're going to put the Stahl line out against somebody else's top line or second-best scoring line. So they're going to see a lot of third pairs and third and fourth lines, and Rod just might go, well, let's let it run because they should be offensively gifted. I want to go back to the top line with DJ Raddick from NHL Network because this happened about 2.5 weeks ago against Toronto, where based on a not-so-great start to the game, Rod flipped the lines around, and that's when Gensel and Aho and Jarvis got together. And since then, it's like the best of all three have shown up. Gensel only has 2 goals, but it ain't like he's playing great. Jarvis has become a goal-scoring revelation, and Aho is doing what he always does, which is just kind of, there's 2 more points. There's 6 out of 8 in the face-off circle. He's just playing the 200-foot game. That line has the potential to be one of the best in the league.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with those guys. I mean, Jarvis is, he's such a young player, and we've seen him kind of developing, and you like everything you've seen, and now it seems like he's taken another step. And at the right time. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, the chemistry, it's been almost instant with those guys. I mean, I called the kind of crazy game that Carolina played in Washington. They ended up losing in that game in a shootout. And
it was nutty.
It was, but watching those guys play together in that game, I mean, they were finding each other. I mean, Gensel had an unbelievable play where he picked the pocket of one of the Caps defensemen coming behind the net and just zipped it through the front of the net, through the slot, through Aho, and Aho, just such a skilled player, was able to just one-time the puck out of the air on the move into the net. So it's fun to watch those guys. I mean, they're put it this way, Adam, since we talked earlier in March before the date to where we are now, I mean, they're just a much, much different team in my view, a much more dangerous team. And then you add in, like, Freddie Anderson. I mean, wow. Who is this guy? I mean, He's always been good, but, he's not giving up anything right now. So, to have him and to have him back, which you weren't sure, right, if he was going to be able to come back and play, but not only have him back, but have him back and playing really well, and to still have, the other guy there. I mean, that's terrific. I mean, like I said, it puts him in a great spot. And the other thing, too, about those guys, and to your point about moving guys around and, flipping guys in the spot, and if Kuznetsov should play with Natchez, the other thing it does for Roddy Brind'Amour, and it does for everybody when you get more pieces like this, is it gives you more choices.
Yeah.
It gives you more options to do different things, and it makes you much harder to defend because of that. So, I mean, that's another thing that, that Roddy's got in his pocket now. Like you say, these little moves he can make now in the game. He's got more chess pieces that he can move around the board if need be.
Yeah, there's no question. He actually said it after one of the games where they scored with an extra attacker. He goes, I looked down at the bench. I had 6 players on the ice. I looked down at the bench. He goes, I have a lot more good players that I can still play. Like it's
That's
just
right.
two, but it makes a huge difference. EJ Raddick, NHL Network, is joining us here. I just want to kind of kick it forward here because right now in the Eastern Conference, and I wouldn't have said this a couple of weeks ago, even though everything was there, all the ingredients were there for a tight race. But right now, because Philadelphia has not played well of late, Washington's been good. But even then, not amazing. The Islanders lost 6 in a row, but now have won 3 of their last 5. Detroit's been floundering. We've got 4 teams for 2 spots.
Hold on.
Are you throwing Pittsburgh back in the mix? That would be fair.
What about the Penguins? What about the Penguins? Like if the Penguins beat the Capitals on Thursday, right?
Right.
They're at 81 points, and then they also play. They play Tampa again. They play Detroit, and they play the Islanders. So they play all teams that, if they can beat, they gain points on. So I hate to add anybody at this stage with this
right.
group because you nailed it. As soon as they have any kind of good fortune, it falls apart.
All of them.
But I have to give Pittsburgh credit. I mean, they rallied last night against the Devils, scored 5. I think it was 5 goals in the third period. They've won 2 in a row, and they are playing. In Washington, if they can win that game, you can't. You have to put them back in because then they're right there. So, but to your point, it's 5 teams really that none of them, in my view, is playing all that good right now. Washington was the one that was playing the best, but I think they've lost 2 or 3 now. Yeah. And they got to win that game against Pittsburgh coming up.
Yeah, I mean they had the opportunity in Buffalo, and the Sabres played great. So give the Sabres credit for winning that game. But one of those teams is going to finish not Detroit, obviously, but one of those teams is going to finish third. Like I know the Hurricanes want to catch the Rangers to finish top of the division, but I'll never try to organize or engineer a matchup. But the Hurricanes could get the biggest break because of who finishes third. I mean, I don't know who's going to get the wild card because Detroit's also in kind of a tough spot. But there's a lot of – I think there's a lot of good teams that can still make it, but I don't know if any of them are really great. Tampa's playing like Tampa. If the looks like, Boston, if Boston hangs on and wins the Atlantic, Tampa-Boston could be an epic opening round series.
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard to figure this time of year because, we think one thing's going to happen. Like, Washington was playing well, so you think they're going to win at Buffalo and win, and then they lose. I mean, and the Islanders, like you mentioned, they won 6 in a row. Looked like they were going to be the team, then they lost a bunch of games in a row. Pittsburgh was dead and buried, and now they've won the last couple, and now I have to bring them back into the mix. So it's hard to figure. As for Carolina, I would love to see the Carolina-Washington 2-3 matchup that we had for like a day there because, as I mentioned, I called that game back a couple of weeks ago on a Friday night in D.C., and it was a crazy game. And then obviously you have the Kuznetsov circumstance, so you have that kind of storyline going into it. And those two have had some really, they had some good, interesting playoff series over the years. Certainly the one, I guess, when Carolina was, I think in 2019.
Yep.
When I was at the game, I think it was a double overtime game, and Carolina ended up winning the game, but in Game 7. So that's the one I'm kind of rooting for. I don't think Carolina is going to catch the Rangers, but you don't know. So. I mean, the Rangers' schedule is kind of soft down the stretch.
Yes.
But, Carolina's is a little harder, but, you do got Columbus twice. You got Chicago and St. Louis who will be out of it. So, I mean, if the Rangers do falter, there is room for that. But I kind of get the sense Carolina is going to be in the 2 hole and we'll play Philadelphia, Washington, New York, or Pittsburgh. Somebody, one of those 4. So we'll see.
It is absolutely incredible stuff. EJ Raddick, NHL Network. You got to get to work. I have to get to work, or whatever versions of it we call work. And I can't wait to see you during the playoffs.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. Go Canes.
It's very exciting.
I know, and I love that he said go Canes.
Yeah, no, look, EJ, gosh, I've known EJ almost 20 years. And it was cool to see all these guys, all the national guys when they came here for the outdoor game and kind of got re-energized by it, even though they had been here in the playoffs. And you see what the team is on the ice now, and they are legitimately one of the best teams. So there's a lot. It's not like they're alone. There are I think 4 teams in the East that have legitimate chances to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. The top 2 teams in each division. If you want to throw Tampa in because they still write checks to Andrei Vasilevsky and Nikita Kucherov and Steven Stamkos and Braden Point, yeah, I'm here for that. But I think ultimately the other 4 teams are better, and it's going to be hard for Tampa to beat Boston and Florida in the playoffs. I don't think Toronto is as good as either of those first 2 teams. Whoever Toronto meets in the first round, I think the other team will win that series. In the West, I think Vancouver is really good, haven't played as well of late. Winnipeg, really good, haven't played as well of late, but they have the best goalie. Colorado, Dallas, Vegas. The West is as wide open as you're going to get. Nashville's played great. I don't think Nashville is great. The Kings have kind of faded. I think they're ultimately going to be the 8th seed in the West. But there are probably 6 teams in the Western Conference that could win that conference. I don't think there are 6 in the East. I think that number is 4. Anyway, it will be an absolute blast. We've already had so much fun today. Mac Brown joined us on the show. Also, it was a Chip Patterson Wednesday. Both will be featured in a quick rewind. All right. North Carolina spring game is coming up in 2.5 weeks. 2 weeks from Saturday, 3 o'clock, Kenan Stadium. But the real reason to talk to Mac was about Pro Day last week. And Drake May threw and looked great by all accounts. It is hysterical to me when I look at the mock drafts that everybody says, yeah, May's still my number 2 quarterback. Yet you see him listed as the 4th quarterback more than you see him listed as the 2nd quarterback. And I'm blown away by that, but what does that matter? And I asked Mac about Drake and the mocks.
Adam, Drake had a great pro day. We had every team represented. We had a couple of head coaches. We had some general managers. We had over 100 staff members here from pro teams, pro scouts, whatever. Most we've ever had. And Drake looked great. He threw 80 to 100 balls, and I think he wishes he had 3 of them back, and that's pretty good. He threw 169 yards, I think, on the money. He worked really, really hard. He's in great shape. In fact, we felt like every player that was there didn't hurt themselves or improved themselves for the draft or for free agency. And they even specifically mentioned, some of them mentioned British Brooks and how good he looks. And he's a guy that was a special teams captain. So we felt like our pro day was really good. You can't go on the projections of draft day. Obviously, one move late changes everybody's moves. So for somebody to tell you this is what's going to happen, they've never been in that draft room. And we've got a number of ex-NFL coaches on our staff, and we have them sit down with our players and tell them how to handle the combine. How do you handle scouts and head coaches and coordinators when they come in and sit down and visit with you? What should you do on draft day? What is it really like? So we try to educate our guys to get them ready for whatever happens.
Drake May will not be sitting in the green room for very long. I still believe he is the 2nd best quarterback. He might be the best quarterback. There are people who think he's the best quarterback. But Caleb Williams is going to be the first pick in the draft. The Bears are not taking anybody other than Caleb Williams. But if you're Washington, I just don't get it. I don't get it. But whatever. It is. These guys could all be good. And they could also all be okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a possibility.
I mean, everything is on the table.
Yeah.
We've seen it. Remember when Trevor Lawrence was a can't miss?
Mm-hmm.
There was a discussion on Unsportsmanlike today, before we get to Chip Patterson. There was a discussion on, was it Unsportsmanlike? Anyway, they were talking about, they were listening to Adam Schefter clip where he said that they were wondering if Jordan Love would be the next quarterback to get paid.
Right.
Like, really paid. And Schefter went, well, I'll tell you this, it'll be from the NFC North. Like, really? Jared Goff? Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to argue. Do what you got to do. But Trevor Lawrence is due a contract. Would you feel good about paying Trevor Lawrence
No.
$45 million a year?
And Waffle House credit? Maybe?
I mean, this is the shoulder shrug emoji right here.
Yeah.
I think Trevor Lawrence is good. I'm not going any further than that yet.
Period.
I
Good
need to
period.
see more before I go, yeah. Like, I'm way more bullish on Jordan Love than I am on Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, yeah.
All right, final thing, Chip Patterson, as we get back to basketball, and just as a point of reference, I am leaving in 4 hours. I will be on a plane to Phoenix by way of Salt Lake City, Utah, and this show will come to you from Phoenix the next 2 days. We talked to Chip about this Wolfpack team and the way they're playing.
I know you listen to the Eye on College Basketball podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you know about sorting the data?
No, I mean, I have not heard them talk about that. But
all right, so Gary Parrish invented sorting the data.
Gotcha.
At barttorvik.com, you can get efficiency ratings in a certain time frame, in a certain window.
Okay.
Since the NCAA tournament started, NC State has been the 9th most efficient team in the entire country.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just they are playing winning basketball.
Yeah.
And so while they are only the 6th 11 seed to be able to make it to the Final Four since the field expanded, I do think that there is something to be said. We always talk about seeding. This team was underseeded. This team was overseeded.
Right.
The ceiling for NC State, to your point, was not an 11 seed.
No.
The ceiling for this NC State team, not a 1 or a 2, not that the expectation would be there. NC State has gotten some breaks. I'm not going to ignore the fact that there have been some things that have gone the Wolfpack's way, but the ceiling for this NC State team is probably right where Clemson is, right?
Yeah.
Like a mid-bracket team that was wearing the home uniform for the first round game.
Yep.
And a 6 seed being in the Final Four is not crazy. We see that kind of stuff happen all the time. It's just that NC State was not performing consistently to that ceiling. They were seeded according to their results, which was largely more losses than wins over the last 2 months of the season.
I like the fact that I'm not alone in thinking this. Because we get caught up in, like, if we were talking about a team that just wasn't all that great and then somehow got hot, won the ACC tournament out of nowhere, now this would be something, holy. But I think most of us, exactly, I think most of us looked at the state team and thinking, should be better. And that's why I'm not completely blown out of the water by what they have accomplished in the NCAA tournament. And I won't be surprised when they're playing on Monday. See you from Phoenix. Victoria, thank you. Bye.
Going beyond the box scores. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, North Carolina, can I remind you that FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, and we are officially up and running in North Carolina? Adam Gold here, and mention my name and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you bet your first $5. Just go to FanDuel.com, promo code AdamGold to sign up. FanDuel.com, AdamGold to sign up. Then you can bet on anything you want, and you get started with $200 in bonus bets, win or lose, when you make your first $5 wager. Visit FanDuel.com, promo code AdamGold to get started. So be it soccer or basketball or hockey or fishing. I don't know if you can bet fishing. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Must be 21 and older and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Sanja loves to bake, but her feet, they were throbbing. Then one day, I found